podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Bo.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're the Morning Throners talking Theon 1, new POV.
If you guys are listening, please
up.
make sure to like and subscribe on all platforms, whether it's YouTube, iTunes, Spotify,
We're at an interesting
SoundCloud.
spot right now. We don't have any podcasts recorded. So if you comment after this podcast,
You'll be in the next one.
We could be talking about it in the next podcast or the one after that. Like, it's going to be a quick turnaround. Where normally we're like, if you comment, it might be like a month before we hear it.
So if you want to become famous, now's your time.
We'll be reading them right away.
I like how Glow says, if you're listening. Like, of course you're listening.
Whatever. All right, take out the if part.
If you're actually paying
Because
attention
you're
to us.
listening, please make sure.
If you're enjoying it, maybe. That's probably more
That's what I
questionable.
meant. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want me to redo
All
it, guys?
No, you're fine, man.
It was perfect. I like when you fuck
Where's
up.
so getting into it, Kyle, what do you think? I guess just get some general thoughts. What we think about Theon. I mean, so this is interesting. So it's a new POV, but unlike Davos,
We've seen him.
Theon like a decent amount before.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of holds up. He's still kind of a piece of shit.
It's kind of what you'd expect, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like somebody you'd hang out with, Nelson. Just like a bro.
Big
I
douchey.
don't know about that.
Douchebag.
Big douchey. Yeah.
So he's like you, Kyle, because you hang out with Nelson?
What's that? Would I hang out with?
Cool, you
Oh, I hang out with Nelson. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's
Are
me,
you
I
the
guess.
Theon?
Shit. What am I saying?
Exactly, Kyle's the Theon.
I might be.
Good one. Thanks for having my back.
Is it too late to change my the drawing?
What do you think about the Iron Island, Kyle?
I mean, it seems pretty sweet. Like in terms of me not having to live there.
I love the Iron Islands, dude. I think it's badass.
Yeah, I mean it's cool, but I wouldn't want to live anywhere near it.
It's like a barren rock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
if you're
cool.
pillars of rocks. And
If
like,
you're a loyal listener, even if you don't know what it is, you know by now that like I'm a big fan of this game called Sea of Thieves, like some pirate game. I just love the sailing pirate like type lifestyle, and that's all what they're about. Like in that pirate
raping
game,
and pillaging.
In that pirate game, there's a faction that's
all
like all
Nelson's
about
about.
that's all about PvP. It's like not doing any quests, just killing other people. And it's called the Reaper. And they say in this chapter that Balon calls himself Lord Reaper. And that like I just get like fired up about that. Like, yeah, that's badass as shit, dude.
Getting all
I love the
revved
whole
up.
but
pirate.
he calls himself
lifestyle.
that. Like that's a
And-
self-made nickname.
Yeah,
that
that's
makes you lame as
You're
shit.
not cool if you
I
do
don't know,
yourself.
dude. And we're jumping over a little bit over the place, but like even what's the Greyjoy words?
The Kraken.
We do not
okay.
sow.
We do not sow.
We do not sow, which means what's the meaning behind that, right?
I don't know
No
what sow
farm.
means.
So
Is that
means
what it
like
means?
means like plow and like plant stuff. It's
I
like
did
farm.
know that. I'm an idiot.
So it means like we don't farm, and like Theon gets into it later. Their old way was they wore, and they're basically like they're slaves. They called them the thralls, but it's basically slaves. They would do all the work that they didn't want to do, and they would just fight and drink and do all that shit.
And like
and
you don't get jewelry unless you kill somebody for it, and
Yeah,
So the other
That's
thing I
the
was gonna
best.
say
That's
is
the
like,
best part about this chapter, and it's at the end.
maybe I like it because it's just toxic masculinity. It's
Well-
just what the Iron Islands all are.
That's why I said that they seem like people you'd be friends with. Well, so the other thing is like that whole rest of that kind of proverb or whatever is like you reap what you sow for the most part, and they do not sow; they only reap.
Yeah,
So I guess for
And,
yeah, that's a good point.
you call them a reaper, you know.
Yeah, it's exactly contradicting. So where was I guess Glow? You want to tell us where last time we saw Theon? What was going on with him?
Last time we saw Theon, I think it was in Catelyn's chapter that they brought him up with Robb sending him to the Iron Islands to bring the Greyjoys into the fold and help Robb fight the Lannisters and fuck them up with their fleet. And even Catelyn was like, I don't know if it's a good idea, man. Maybe you should send somebody else.
Yeah,
Why are you
he
giving her
just
shit?
somebody
She was
else.
right.
No,
Yeah.
I was just saying I wasn't giving a shit.
That voice
You're
was
giving
giving her
a bad
shit.
voice.
I mean,
Well,
is she right yet, or are we assuming she's going to be right?
I mean, that's my job. That's why I'm here is to make
assume.
predictions and
That was a good
assumptions.
prediction. She's gonna be right.
So real quick, that voice was not derogatory towards Catelyn. There's some
was.
YouTube video guy that does a voice. He's like, I don't know, man. It sounds kind of gay to me.
Okay.
What's wrong with being gay?
Nothing, but you know, the guy's in a pink flamingo suit when he says it. So forget his name.
Just a stupid video. All right, so he was at River Run. We find out throughout the chapter how he's got to where he's at from from there. He went from River Run to Seaguard, and then from Seaguard by boat to here.
Not super important, right?
No, but just like that's how
it's just his path.
It's just what happened.
I think the best part about this is that he's expecting this big ass homecoming. And nobody gives a fuck about him. It's just so cool because it kind of shows you what his dad and uncle are like trying to find out. Is like he thinks he's some like, and to be fair, he doesn't know any better. He's a 10-year-old that's been around like people being like, oh, he's the Lord, this is the prince and the king, and oh, you have to pay your curtsies, and then his family just doesn't give a fuck about any of that. I thought that was funny.
And one of the other things I think, just like a general theme kind of with this chapter, I feel like Kyle, maybe we talked about this a little bit off because it's been a while since this. I think you read this a while ago, right? Like a week ago?
I don't think we talked about it, but yeah, go ahead.
I thought you said something about like unreliable narrator. Like,
oh, we've definitely talked about that.
It's like obvious that this is like kind of one of those where Theon just said stuff that like seems like kind of wrong.
That makes him seem
like I think when we talked about it, the one that I was going to bring up later is that he mentions like Jon was treated with more honor, and I guess we don't know the general rule if that was true or not, but like we definitely saw the one occasion where like Theon had a high seat of honor and Jon had to sit in the back.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems like Theon, some of his like is just like delusional, like, oh, poor me type shit, even if it's not true. Which is just, I think, like a theme throughout this whole fucking chapter.
And just when you hear about Theon from other people, like Kat obviously doesn't trust him. Like,
I mean, I think just reading this one chapter here, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine this like little virgin girl on the ship who's just getting torn out. She seems
to like him,
and she sees.
Well, I mean, he groomed her pretty much, you know, right? Like on the boat here.
First dude she met.
We can just jump into it. We're kind of jumping all around. But
yeah, well, I think this chapter's so long and kind of unstructured. That's how it's going to have to be.
I think there's like 3 parts, right? There's a part where him on the boat, him going to the castle, and then him at the castle. It's kind of
let's just start with him on the boat.
So what's the boat called?
The Miraham,
right?
Yeah,
it's the maiden. Miraham. Man.
Is that an actual thing? Does that like mean something?
I thought that was the daughter's. I thought that was her name.
Her name is Myra, I think. Miraham.
That's the boat.
Yeah. I think her name is Myra, though.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I never got that. I just have her as the captain's daughter, and I'm pretty sure she's in the wiki as the captain's daughter. So I don't know if she has a name.
Yeah, I was just kind of assuming like maybe he named it after her. It kind of sounds like.
I don't think we got a name for the captain or her, but maybe. Yeah.
Well, it'd be worthless in giving her a name. I think that's the whole point of her is that she's just like some random girl. And at Theon, that's how he treats her too. It's like, I don't know your name.
What kind of person Theon is.
Just use your mouth to pleasure me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he says later he fucked her so many times too, so it's not just that, but yeah. But they're on the boat. They're not basically beelining it because Theon's making them go this somewhat roundabout way so that he can see the castle the opposite as he like last saw. So like he saw it growing smaller as he was taken away by Ned Stark, and now he wants to see it growing bigger as he sails in on this boat. And the captain's like just kind of is doing whatever he says, even though he doesn't really want to. So they go out and he sees it coming in, and the captain's like cursing and stuff. He says the captain listened and went away while cursing the winds and the crew and the follies of highborn lordlings. And then Jeff, you want to read the description of Pike?
The shore was all sharp rocks and glowering cliffs, and the castle seemed one with the rest. Its towers and walls and bridges quarried from the same gray black stone, wet by the same salt waves, festooned with the same spreading patches of dark green lichen, speckled by the droppings of the same seabirds. The point of land on which the Greyjoys had raised their fortress had once thrust like a sword into the bowels of the ocean, but the waves had hammered at it day and night until the land broke and shattered. Thousands of years passed. All that remained were 3 bare and barren islands and a dozen towering stacks of rock that rose from the water like the pillars of some sea god's temple, while the angry waves foamed and crashed among them. Drear, dark, forbidding, Pike stood atop those islands and pillars, almost a part of them, its curtain wall closing off the headland around the foot of the great stone bridge that leapt from the cliff top to the largest islet, dominated by the massive bulk of the great keep. Farther out were the Kitchen Keep and the Bloody Keep, each on its own island. Towers and outbuildings clung to the stacks beyond, linked to each other by covered archways when the pillars stood close, by long swaying walks of wood and rope when they did not. The sea tower rose from the outmost island at the point of the broken sword, the oldest part of the castle, round and tall. The sheer-sided pillar on which it stood, half eaten through by the endless battering of the waves. The base of the tower was white from centuries of salt spray, the upper stories green from the lichen that crawled over it like a thick blanket, the jagged crown black with soot from its nightly watchfire.
So how do you live here without being terrified of this thing just sinking into the sea? Or even just like the bridge is giving way. Like, I mean, he's afraid of him a little later here, but like how do you just get used to this shit?
It's definitely a fishy place for sure.
Yeah, and like they have to like it seems like they're not like repairing anything, and I guess I don't know how you do when it's like your foundation is what's getting taken away underneath of you by the waves.
A rock tower, yeah. No, there's nothing.
But also, like this was built like for fucking ever ago, and it seems like in recent memory nothing's fallen down. So like,
yeah, I know.
This might just be like 3,000 years of like damage, and we're just like.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe like within the next 500 years, this is not going to be here, but
it's not going to be structurally sound.
It doesn't seem like it's an immediate concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I had a question on. So Pike is the castle.
Pike is the island.
Castle. Yes. No,
Pike's
the castle. It might also be the island. Jeff might.
I thought it was the main island.
That's kind of where I was getting at. I guess is
I think it is the island
understand the naming conventions out here.
Yeah. So there's 7 islands. There's Pike, Harlaw, Orkmont, Black Tide, Great Wick, Old Wick, and Salt Cliff. So they're on Pike, which is where the castle for the Greyjoys is, which is also called Pike. Okay. And it's also where so basically Theon's going to round this corner and they see the seat of another House Boltley. They used to have a wooden keep, now it's stone because it got all fucked up during the rebellion. Robert. And there's also like a city or a town, village around it called Lordsport. And that's where they pull in, and that's where there's all these ships. So that's on Pike, we know that there's at least these 2 ships, and then we hear later that like people are at other places sending messages to other houses on some of these other islands.
So you're saying that Lordsport is on Pike? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you were saying it was on a different island, but I got you.
Is that where all the ships are gathering?
Yes, Lordsport? That's where he pulls in. Yeah, because there's no safe anchorage at Pike. Because it's like
so. Wait, where are they then? I just asked if it was at Pike, and you said yes.
The castle's at Pike. The island is called Pike. There's no safe anchorage at the Castle Pike because it's on like these cliffs.
At the Castle Pike.
But Lordsport is also on the island Pike.
Okay, so there is safe anchor on Pike.
On the island.
I know, but you were like at the end. Like, there's no safe anchor on Pike. Yeah.
It's like who's on first. It's like who's on first. Yeah.
It's hard to tell. We don't even know. Nelson, make a map, would you?
I mean, I'm looking at a map, but yeah. I mean, you can look at the book too. I don't know if in the book all the islands are named.
I got you. No, we're good.
So he's riding in. He's obviously banged out the captain's daughter, and he just keeps reminding himself of the crown that he's about to get. Like he's.
So we get another mention of the Red Comet.
We do, right? And
as part of this crown,
and
thing.
it's his comet, right? Like
he's like it's mine. He said he was saying that people from the Malisters were saying something about it.
Oh, I got it right here. All the way from Riverrun to Seaguard, the Malisters had argued about its meaning. It is my comet, Theon told himself, sliding a hand into his fur-lined cloak to touch the oilskin pouch snug in his pocket.
But right before this, he talks about how this is like the first time he's ever seen the Greyjoy sigil flying without the Stark above it, and how like it was like a stirring. I never got like in the earlier chapters up until this chapter, I never got the feeling that Theon
hated the Starks.
Was ever treated too poorly. I didn't think he was treated like as well as everyone else. But yeah, what Jeff said, I didn't think he had any like ill feelings towards them.
It definitely like, sounds like. I mean, he's got a lot of ill will to like Kat and Ned at least.
The thing is, most of I feel like when we see Theon is from Bran's perspective. Once everyone's gone, and at that point, he's literally like the right hand man to the Lord of Winterfell.
Yeah.
Which is like he's probably in a pretty good spirits when we saw him. We don't know too much of what his shit was like before that.
Yeah, I mean, and he always kind of seems like he's giving Bran the stink eye and shit too, though, right? Like, I don't think he's ever like super nice to Bran. Yeah,
he's like a dickhead stephead.
But on the other hand, what we do see of Theon when he is around Ned and Catelyn is in the first Bran chapter. He's the one that brings Ned his sword, right? He's basically like Ned's squire, which doesn't seem like a bad gig. And then when you're back at the house, you're chilling with Robb just like you were when we saw. Again, I don't know. It seems.
I think he amps it up too. I mean, there's definitely a couple points where he like hides some good feelings from his dad. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the other thing is a lot of people hate on Theon, and I think it's easy to hate on Theon, and I'm not saying I don't hate on Theon.
He definitely makes it easy.
If you put yourself in Theon's shoes, if you put yourself in his shoes, it's super tough what's happening right now, right? You're coming back to your family, you're excited, you think you're about to be welcomed by your family, and they just don't give a fuck. And not only that, they think they're treating you like an enemy.
Well,
right? Yeah, you might not act like Theon does, but you would not be happy if this was the same outcome that was happening to you, right? It's not a great situation.
I mean, but be fair to, it's not the Iron Islands' fault. It's how they are. Like, it's just like what their code is.
They're kind of stuck in the past here.
Yeah, but it's their code. I mean, every man has a code. They're living through it. Like,
I don't know. I don't think this is a spoiler. We see a lot of people from the Islands later in these books, and like a lot of them are just like normal. Like normally it's like the smaller folk, the less like highborn, or maybe is who I'm thinking of. But they're just like the other like people. They're just like kind of chilling. Like, yeah, there's definitely more tendency towards violence, but I think people should have, like, I don't know why people didn't welcome him home.
Because they don't give a fuck about all the little pleasantries of life.
They don't recognize him either.
Like
his dad knew he was coming.
No, he's saying like his family.
His dad knew he was coming.
If this is any other house,
I think that's what it is.
Any other house,
that's what it is.
They would have had like a parade set up for him.
I'm saying even other Ironborn houses would have had people waiting.
I don't think so.
Yes. That's
based off of what? Based off of what?
In future books, we see a lot of other people from like lesser houses in the Ironborn, and they're like not as cold. They're not as old way as Balon is.
I disagree.
They are definitely.
Well, you'll have to tell me in the spoiler section because I don't believe a thing of that. So
okay.
I don't think there's any evidence to point that anyone would have a big a homecoming of someone.
I'm not saying
a homecoming of someone that like, nobody knows.
More than this.
Nobody knows. That's done nothing. Like this is what they care about. They care about people who are sailing ships, winning little battles, pillaging. Like that's what they care about. They don't care about some little fuck that's done nothing for them.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true anymore. Like, I think you're right, and they want to go back to that way. But Theon says, like, now we're pretty much just like the other people. We have to fish, and we have to mine, and we have to try and farm this stupid land. So these people
that were doing what they had the slaves doing, you think they're happy and be like, oh yeah, Theon's back. Let me like blow my trumpet. They don't care.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like if Lord Botley, for example, the guy whose castle Theon pulls in from. If one of his children was taken from him when he was 10 and then comes back 10 years later under any circumstance, he would probably be at the dock, is what I'm saying. Any other father in the realm would do this, is what I'm saying.
Balon was busy.
Maybe not any. Like Tywin might not, right? Maybe Tywin sends, if it's Theon or if it's Tyrion, maybe Tywin sends somebody else. But Theon isn't like
Tywin's not good company. Like, I mean, I think you're just proving your own point there.
Well, I'm saying like if it's Jaime, Tywin probably goes. Like,
yeah, true.
What I'm saying is there's a difference between Theon and Tyrion. Even like Theon should not be an insult to his family from anything that's gone on to him so far.
I mean,
right?
I think Balon.
Not that Tyrion should either, but they treat him like that because of his just.
Balon.
Do they expect like Theon to fight his way out of the Starks and fucking go back?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He's fucking 10.
I'm just saying I don't think Theon gets nearly enough sympathy, and I think he's in a really shitty situation. And people, it's easy to hate on Theon, and I'm not saying I don't hate on Theon, but I'm saying like if you put yourself in his shoes, obviously you wouldn't act like that. But this fucking sucks. What happened?
Yeah. No. I mean. There's nothing that's gone easy in his life. Like he watched his brother die. He gets taken away from home for the next 10 years. He gets brought back and no one, like, I get it. No one really cares about him. Yeah, sure. It's definitely hard. Like he's trying to be Rob's kind of like friend / brother, but he's also very selfish too about what he wants. You know, it's not like he's.
So we'll get into some of this too at the end of the chapter, but he's with the daughter, right? They go down below deck.
This is when we start learning about like the old way and stuff, right? Like he talks about how he's gonna.
Yeah, he basically tells the captain like, "Okay, I've seen enough. Go into port now." And I think he takes the daughter.
He takes the daughter down.
Yeah, come with him.
He starts talking about like how like before he does that, he like Theon mentions how like every captain is a king aboard his ship, and how he almost makes it sound like they're somewhat religious because he says like. Gods make men, but men make crowns, and it's hard. He says shit like it's hard to call someone a king when you've seen them shit over the edge of a ship and get green in a storm like the rest of everyone else.
Well, I think isn't that this captain right now isn't this captain sick, like seasick?
No, Theon's thinking that about the
The captain of, I thought it was the captain of the Miraham.
I think he's just thinking in general. He's saying that
In
like
general,
if
yeah.
you're a captain, you have to be a
Ironborn.
hard ass man. You can't show weakness. Is what he's trying to say.
I think this is more history. He's saying the Iron Men are different than most people because we're all shipfaring. Every captain treats himself as a king on his own ship. It's why they call like the Iron Islands like the land of 10,000 kings or something like that, because there's so many captains. And he says it's also partly they don't respect captains or kings as much, because when you've seen your king shit over the edge of a ship, just like everyone else, because what else are you going to do on a ship, or puke like when you get sick in a storm, it's hard to treat him like a king. Most people don't see their king do that shit because he's in a castle, but when you're supposed to be treating your captain like a king and he's on your ship, you see it all the time. So they don't really have as much respect for the kings. So I think he's kind of saying they're stubborn. I think it's partly a way to say they're stubborn. And I also kind of got like, potentially we get a new religion a little bit. Potentially there may be more pious than other cultures because of this, because they don't treat kings. They put their faith in the god more. Cause what he says,
The
the
drowned
drowned god
ma-
makes men. Yeah.
I didn't know if you had
And
it.
men make crowns, and men aren't fucking shit.
He's talking about some of like the differences between this ship and some of the Ironborn ships. They're like smaller, but they're like more, I guess, more nimble. He says they'd be able to go closer to the
quicker.
shore and stuff. This thing's kind of huge.
I feel like they're war galleys, right? So they'd have like oarmen. I feel like you could control it maybe a little bit easier.
I think it's
Yeah,
a
Yeah, they
ship.
probably have like
too.
100 oarmen too.
I think they're more cutters, whereas this thing is just a big pot belly.
Yeah.
Made the whole cargo.
My assumption was that like the Ironborn ships were different than like the ships that
Stannis.
Stannis has right now.
Yeah. When I said 100, I was thinking of Stannis' ship.
Yeah.
I think they just,
I mean, I don't know the difference, but I feel like they're different.
I
somehow.
feel like they,
I feel like the Iron ones are like weaker. They would like lose in a 1v1, but they're like more nimble and good at like surprise and attack, like
I
surprise
don't know.
attacks.
We're
and- I don't
assuming
know.
for sure.
I
I'm sure
the
they
feeling
have.
of like a Viking.
It sounds
ship.
like the
Yeah.
lead ships though are like massive. Like they definitely have like
Yeah.
normal warships too, and then they like probably have
Well,
like
like
some
listen, I
side
think it's
ships.
just like potentially just like a different style,
Yeah,
like maybe
absolutely.
like Viking ship versus like normal ship. But yeah, they're still huge ones. But yeah, he takes the girl down to his cabin, which is actually the captain's cabin, but it was surrendered to him. And he says like she's like okay looking, kind of plump for his taste, but she's got some nice boobies. And he kind of gets amusement in the fact that the captain knows what's going on and like can't really do anything about it. Which again just like kind of shows you kind of like Theon's kind of just like a smug asshole. Like what they said in all the other chapters, that he has like a smile that
yeah,
it
it's
looks
just like
he has
a
joke, that he's to
thieving
joke that no
smile.
one else
Yeah,
knows. Yeah.
he's a rat. He's a little rat, is what he is.
Exactly.
I think I don't know if this is next not or else, but they start talking about just like more on the men of how like it's a hard place to live. Like the girl mentions like, man, it must be a tough place to live. Like there's nothing there, and he mentions like hard places, hard times make
Yeah.
hard men type shit.
Read hard
Yeah,
men.
And hard men rule
which
the
is like
world.
still a quote that you hear now. Like that's common time
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, for
still.
sure.
We start to get some of the old way stuff, right? Like she's like, "Hey, like bring me with. I can make the best pepper crab soup that you'll ever have. Like let me make soup for you."
Or at least my dad
Yeah.
said it's good.
Yeah.
She just wants to get off the ship so bad. She's
Yeah.
willing to go
So
to
here's
Pike.
the quick quote. We've talked about a lot of this before, but here's the quick quote where they kind of contrast like the old and new way, I think. The islands are a stern and stony place, scant of comfort and bleak of prospect. Death is never far here, and life is mean and meager. Men spend their nights drinking ale and arguing over whose lot is worse. The fisherfolk who fight the sea, or farmers who try and scratch the crop from the poor thin soil. If truth be told, the miners have it worse than either, breaking their backs down in the dark. And for what? Iron, lead, tin, those are our treasures. Small wonder the Iron Men of old turned to raiding. So that's like what they're doing now, is they're doing just like what everyone else did. I'm not saying they like it, but I'm
Dude,
saying
they
like they're-
definitely hate it. Well, I mean, how many? I guess
Well,
it's
that's-
still like the same generation, right?
But it's been 300 years since they haven't been able to do it, because they said it since
Okay,
staying on the Conqueror.
I
That's
didn't know
when
if
their
that was like a
shit
new.
kinda went
I
away.
forgot if it was a new like Rob rule or not that they had to stop. But
No.
yeah, I mean, so it's gone generations without the old way.
Because later Theon even says, and we'll get to it, he says Balon's rebellion was more to act because he actually wanted to bring back the old way
Mhm.
than it was for like vanity or just like want of being able to call himself king, like
Yeah.
Theon
Well,
does. Right? Theon
in
wants to be
that
a
way, it
king
makes sense
or
of
have a
how he
crown.
treats Theon because he doesn't.
he is like to the
Yeah.
book is like, and I think that's like kind of like the Greyjoy way, especially like after we see his
Mhm.
uncle, who seems like, I mean, Theon says he used to be like a party animal, but he seems pretty fucking stern now.
He used to be
Uncle's
like a fun
crazy.
dude.
Yeah.
He sounded fun before.
Yeah. So he didn't think the girl was listening. Yeah,
You
she
got
starts
that patch
begging.
face treatment.
She starts begging, like, "Can I come ashore with you? Like, I could be good. I could work on your castle."
I could be your salt wife. I can cook you a meal. I can warm your bed. Blah blah
And
blah.
we hear a little bit more about the Iron Men of old.
Yeah.
They used to have many salt wives.
Well, they used to keep it one real one, right? So
Just mistresses everywhere else, pretty much.
They
It's
would
like a
have
harem.
a rock
Rock
wife, which
wife.
was an ironborn.
that's your
woman.
island wife there.
That's your island wife. Yeah.
Salt
And then they
wives.
would take salt wives, which was he says willingly or unwillingly. So like a lot of these are probably just like kidnapped like women on raids or whatever, right? So yeah. And he's basically like, yeah, at one point I might have like kept you around to just like fuck you when I wasn't at home or whatever, but not anymore. Like we're not allowed to do that anymore. We don't do that anymore.
Sorry, babe, I'm not marrying you.
It's kind of interesting. I'm surprised Theon doesn't like take her up on this. Like, okay,
You
yeah,
would think, like,
you find your
go,
own housing and shit. Now I'll come visit you every once in a while. Type
Go
deal.
sit over there, would you? And be
He
ready
didn't
when I
sound
call.
like he
out.
cared too much about her, though. Like,
No.
in
Yeah.
general.
I mean, this is one thing where like Theon, we know Theon's kind of been out and about, right? Like this wasn't his first girl. Like he brags about that. Like I've slept with my
More girls
share
than I
of
can
women.
name.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's probably like, all right, I need to fix while I'm on the ship. You'll do.
Yeah,
She was probably the only one on the
Yeah,
ship.
the only one.
yeah. So then she offers to like start having sex again, and he's like, "Nah, open your mouth." And he's like, "I don't want." He's like, he thinks this is better because then he doesn't have to listen to her talk, which is kind of fucked up.
Really fucked
So
up.
then he she starts sucking his dick, and
Whoa, language.
he starts thinking about the old way again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And thinking that like this is when he says that that hasn't been a thing since Aegon the Conqueror killed Black Heron and gave their kingdom back to the Rivermen. Again, this is like pretty quick, but we talked about some of this before. This is like Harrenhal. This is the guy who had Harrenhal. He was an Ironman, and the Ironmen own all the Riverlands. Again, this is partially why the whole Seven Kingdoms thing doesn't make sense, because those two are now separate. So you can't call them seven anymore. There's at least one more than there used to be, because one split into two. But yeah,
There's
that's
kingdoms. So
there's 9, because now where King's Landing is called the Crownlands, and that wasn't there before Aegon showed up either. So there's actually 9, but
okay.
a lot of people forget that the Ironmen had all the Riverlands before Aegon showed up, and that's when they were kind
They
of like,
had to have just got
we can
pushed
do whatever
away,
the fuck
right?
we
Yeah,
want.
I mean, they were huge.
because they just like had like home base on land, the biggest like Harrenhal. I mean, they never really had it because it was being built the whole time, but they had a lot of power in the Riverlands, and yeah, they had basically like the navy.
The old red tails. That's the story of the old way.
Yeah, and he mentions that their thing is we do not sow.
And his
Mentioned that
father's
earlier.
Lord Reaper. Yep.
I've always loved to see
His
you,
cum
Lord.
tasted salty. That's like
It tasted salty.
Yeah, he says that like, yeah, she says that, he says, I love the sea. She says, me too. He's like, oh, it meant freedom to me. And he basically vows he's never going to leave the
Yeah.
sea, go far from the
he's
sea
given
again.
the feeling back of being on the ship. It's like when you played Sea of Thieves for the second time. You're like, wow, this is where I belong.
He's saying it's like riding a bike. Just like he never forgets.
It
It's just
is.
in
That's
his
the
blood.
truth. If you're ever good at anything, it's like riding a bike.
Isn't the whole end game here? He goes back to Rob. This wasn't them letting him being set free, was
So
it?
we don't hear
I mean, at
what the
this
letter
point,
is about.
it doesn't seem like there's anyone with him from Rob. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's
no,
not
he's
like an
definitely
honor
alone.
guard. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, yeah, he could go back to Rob, but that's
We don't know what the
Is that
letter
what-
I don't
says.
think
seem
he's
like that's-
free though. I don't think they're like, yeah, your warding is
Your
over,
wardship is
or
over.
whatever.
So what do you think what happens after this
Well,
chapter?
let's just
I guess?
wait. Let's
Yeah,
just
I
I mean,
thought
we're
he
kind of
was
jumping
supposed to go
ahead.
back.
let's just keep.
Huh?
I figured he was supposed to go back. I mean, are you talking about the fight that they're supposed to bring here? He's supposed to lead the fight in, and then I would have assumed that he was going to meet back up with Rob and get back in there.
All right, we can keep going. We'll talk
All
about
right,
it.
so he pulls into Lord's Port, expecting this big ass homecoming, and not a soul is there. Nobody recognizes him.
Everyone's like, who's this piece of shit?
The one thing I noticed, because I took notes on this a while ago and I reread it just before the podcast to get it fresh in my mind. When she says she can't stay on the ship, and he's like, why? And she says, my father will call me names and hit me. And Theon says, fathers do that. And later in this chapter, Theon's father calls him like Ned's sweet daughter, and Lily backhands him.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was like kind of cool
Do you
foreshadowing.
think Ned
within
did
the
that too?
chapter
Do you
alone.
think he watched Ned do that?
No, but I think it's just interesting how Theon says fathers do that, and then his father does that, both of those things to him at the end of the
One
chapter.
other thing.
I don't think Ned beat his kids at all.
Nah, you got to discipline them sometimes.
I mean, we don't hear about it from a lot of the kids.
I'm sure Rob got a
POVs
spanking on the butt every now and again.
Yeah, that's true.
One thing is, as he was coming
Cloud
in,
on the ear.
yeah, you need a good cloud on the air. There's a bunch of warships. Like it seems like the banners were almost called for the Iron Islands. And he's like, "Oh, are they here for me, or is this for? Are they going like to attack somebody? Like what's going on here?" He's not really sure.
Yeah, so he says there's like 50 or 60 ships. He sees some like an Ebony ship and like a Tyroshi, so like some traders. Then he sees House Winch, House Goodbrother, and House Harlaw. He says he looks for a ship called the Silence, but was glad when he didn't see it. But he does see the ship called the Great Kraken.
Is that his sister ship?
No,
his sister's not out there right now.
Blackwind.
Blackwind,
That's
yeah.
right.
Because it's similar to Rob's
So
Wolf.
his uncle Euron.
Is Silence. Yeah, that's his ship, Silence. The red.
Good name.
I think they say it's red at some point in this
Red
chapter.
ship. Yeah, that lean and terrible red ship.
And Great Kraken is his dad's ship, and that's got a big iron Kraken ram on the front of it. So kind of what you guys were saying. Theon's wondering, like, is this for me? Is this like, what's going on? But he kind of realizes, like, once they get to the dock, like, it wasn't for him.
The funny one too is like he's like, oh, he might well have guessed why his son was coming home at long last and acted accordingly. Like this cocky little prick. Like it's all about him like he's so selfish.
Again, I think like calling a huge parade is not what anybody should be expecting. But like I said earlier, he gets way less than I think he should.
But he's like,
anybody would've.
Maybe his dad's just acting accordingly. Like, oh no, he was supposed to do this for me. Like, grow up, dude.
I thought so. So here, look.
Well, maybe you go, Kyle.
So he says he touched the pouch and he said no one knew of his letter but Robb Stark. There were no fools to entrust their secrets to a bird. Still, Lord Balon was no fool either. He might well have guessed why his son was coming home at long last and acted accordingly. Meaning his son was coming home to tell him to prepare for war.
Yeah.
And so he had already prepared for war.
Yeah, this wasn't. The
Okay.
ships
That's
wasn't
what I
about
was
the
trying
I'll
parade.
take
The
that.
ships
I'll
was
take it
about the
back,
war
Theon.
thing.
You're still a selfish prick.
He still sucks. I just was reading it.
Yeah, because then he says, like, even if it wasn't for attacking for war, he might have, like, even if he doesn't anticipate that's what Theon was coming for, he might have just called us ships because of so much shit going on. He says, like, old men are, like, want to defend themselves, and they're, like, I don't
Cautious by nature.
cautious by nature, something like that.
He even says like, "Oh, father, your time's done. Like this is my time. This is my hour.
He's
my
thinking that a
war,
lot inside
my
his
crown."
head, yeah. So he says that he didn't think his own dad would come, but he thought there was a few people that might have come. Silas Sourmouth, who we hear later in the chapter is dead. He used to be like the old steward. Lord Swain Botley, who's Lord of House Botley, who's the castle of this town. The castle is right next to this town. Or Dagmar Cleftjar. We don't really hear who that is, but Theon says like he's got an ugly face and he misses him.
He misses him.
But basically none of these people are there. And his uncle is coming to meet him. But Theon doesn't realize it's his uncle, and
his uncle's a lot weirder.
His uncle's not quite, uncle's not quite there anyway, right? They're like somebody tells them like what all they have, like all the goods that they're carrying, to like
It's like
a merchant or a guy at the
it's like spices and shit, right? Basically.
Yeah, he just says a bunch of shit. And then at the end, he says, your heir. And Theon like walks down and no one like knows what the fuck they're talking about. And he's like, I need a horse. And they're like, okay, cool. Where are you going? And he's like, to Pike. And they're like, oh, it's going to be a long ride. But they never like acknowledge that he's like important at all. It kind of pisses Theon in his head.
Well, at the same time, how can you expect these common folk to
he's wearing the sigil.
He's
wearing the sigil.
No, is he?
Yeah, he is wearing a sigil.
No, I think he says I should have worn my sigil.
I thought he said he should have worn like a better
worn
sigil. Like
he did say he should have worn the good one, but I didn't know if that.
he's definitely wearing a sigil. Come on.
He should have said I should have worn the good doublet. Again, I'm not even looking at it, but I think
I
he's
still
like,
just
I should have worn the
he was
good doublet
unrecognized.
with the Kraken on it, implying the one that he was wearing didn't have it.
Dude,
I just think he wasn't right. I agree with it with Glow. Like 10 years, he was a boy. Now he's not. Like he's a man.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Either way, they don't know who the fuck he is. He comes down and basically they're getting like a horse ready. He's like, "Oh, my boy will lead you there so that you can find the way." And this is
how about this little slight from the innkeeper? Like, oh, okay, my boy will show you the way to Pike. Like, I know how to get there. Like, shut up, Theon.
Yeah. Theon's uncle comes up. What's his name?
Aeron Dampere.
Aeron Greyjoy, and they call him Dampere.
Yeah, Dampere, sorry.
Dude.
which is just damp,
Dude,
literally damp hair.
All this time I've been calling him Damn Fair.
I mean, people call him damp hair.
Have you really?
Dude, I didn't even like put two and two together. It's just damn hair. Holy shit.
Yeah, because he literally just like pours water on people's
I swore
heads,
it was
for
damn
this, like, weird
fair.
ritual. Because he just
Philly
makes people's hair damp.
P. Philly PH.
You know what? Let's just call him damn fair.
People call him damn fair. I'm saying that people like that's not just a Jeff thing. Like this is one of the George R. R. Martin things where I don't think it's supposed to. I think this one's super on the nose, but I think not everyone realizes it right away. Like Jeff, maybe I'm wrong. Tell us in the comments.
Oh fuck.
It's a George R. R. Martin.
It's a fake name.
Yeah, Game of Thrones word.
All right. So the drown. What is this? Damn Fair is like a sept now, a septon. He believes in the drowned god. He basically is a priest for the drowned god.
Theon has a remembering of his dad had sent him a letter about his youngest brother had gone down in a storm and then washed up and turned holy.
Washed up, still alive.
That's what I said. He's like, they gave him the patch face
Yeah,
treatment.
he's like Patch Face.
Yeah.
But he makes a little bit more sense than Patch Face. Not as crazy as Patch Face. We don't know how long he was under for.
Who, Patch Face or damn fair?
But also,
Damn
so
fair.
we want to talk about this new religion a little bit. So we got a new religion dropped in this book pretty much. Like we've heard about it a few times in the first 10 chapters.
You're talking about the red woman?
Lord of the Light.
The Lord of Light?
Yeah,
or
so
lore?
Lord of the Light. We really didn't hear shit about that till this book. And now already we have our fourth one.
Old gods, new
drowned
gods, red god, drowned god.
Drowned God.
Yes, sir.
Thoughts, Kyle? Anything to say about the drowned gods?
I don't know much about him, man.
Yeah, we don't get much.
They don't really go into any of the theology.
It's basically like Poseidon.
I mean, that's what I got. It was the Kraken, Cthulhu kind of.
It's like what's the girl from Calypso? Calypso.
Yeah, from
She's
Pirates
Calypso.
of the Caribbean.
Calypso's the drowned god.
So basically, as he's walking away, he gets his bow and arrow and his bag or his box of stuff or whatever, and the daughter tries to hug him and say take me with you one last time, but he's get off me.
But if you're lucky, you're pregnant.
If you're lucky, you might have a bastard in you. Yeah.
I've dumped a bunch of batches in you.
So he starts thinking I would have expected somebody else to be here, and Aaron just tells him it's not your place to question your father. And this is where he's fuck, he used to be
cool as shit,
the bomb,
yeah.
just funny,
drinking
laughing all the time,
and talking about banging.
and now he is not. And he tells Theon that Dagmar Cleftjaw wasn't there because he was sent to Old Wick, again, one of the other islands, to roust House Stonehouse and House Drum. And he basically is oh, Theon's what's going on? Why are all these ships here?
Why do ships ever come to host?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he asked him he asked him if he prays to the wolf gods now. And Theon's I'm not really religious. He's Ned prayed to a tree, but they were never my gods. And he's good, kneel. He's come on, man. It's muddy out here. He's kneel. So he kneels. You want to read this little thing?
Sure. Good, kneel.
The ground was all stones and mud.
Uncle I.
Kneel, or are you too proud now? The lordling of the Greenlands comes among us.
Theon knelt. He had a purpose here, and might need Aaron's help to achieve it. A crown was worth a little mud and horseshit on his breeches, he supposed.
Bow your head.
Lifting the skin, his uncle pulled the cork and directed a thin stream of seawater down upon Theon's head. It drenched his hair and ran over his forehead into his eyes. Sheets washed down his cheeks, and a finger crept under his cloak and doublet and down his back, a cold rivulet along his spine. The salt made his eyes burn until it was all he could do not to cry out. He could taste the ocean on his lips.
Let Theon your servant be born again from the sea, as you were.
Aaron Greyjoy intoned.
Bless him with salt, bless him with stone, bless him with steel. Nephew, do you still know the words?
What is dead may never die.
Theon said, remembering.
What is dead may never die,
His uncle echoed.
but rises again, harder and stronger. Stand.
Yep. So that's seems like some type of religious deal.
Well, it's kind of weird that
It's a baptism kind of.
So you had the old gods. The
blessing.
drowned god has to be kind of like an old god, right? Because it was before the Aegon came
Definitely an old
over.
god.
So
Yeah.
even then there was multiple religions. There was the old god and the drowned god.
Yeah.
Great point, Jeffrey.
Good job, Jeff.
Great
Yeah,
observation.
you're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
Good pickup, dude. Good pickup.
Is there ever truly just one? Like, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I have no clue.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about religion, but this seems like a baptism-y type thing to me, right?
it seemed more like
For
a
sure.
blessing.
I agree with Kyle.
There's water
I think it
involved.
was
It's a blessing.
a blessing. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both.
But a blessing-
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit
That's
of
what
like
they call a blessing with water. A baptism.
no, you get baptized once. But I feel like this was like almost like a cleansing blessing baptism. Like, all right, you're back now. Like, let's go. Clean yourself of all that bullshit you just did. Here's the drowned god. Remember a little bit. But like, it could be like, I don't know, getting a little holy water too.
Also, do the old gods, like the Stark's gods and the Seven, have like sayings? Like we know that the red god has the cast your light upon us.
For the night is dark and
full of terrors. And these guys have what is dead may never die, but rises again harder and stronger.
I feel like the seven were like trust in the seven, or like
done in the light of the
done
seven.
in the light of the seven.
That's like how they
Seven.
sign out. That's like how you sign out an email in the olden days. You know what I mean? Not how you, not like a chant they say.
What, did you say the old guys had a saying or no?
No, I don't think the old guys say shit. I mean, maybe some leaves rustling or something, right? But
It's the wind.
yeah, exactly.
You whistle. No, let's move on. It doesn't matter.
Yep. So they get. I mean, yeah. Unless anybody has anything to say about that, they got on their horses, start riding off. No one's really talking.
So yeah, Theon's like, man, this guy was fun back in the day. This guy
Wet
sucks.
blanket.
So
Yeah.
dull, dude. He's a wet blanket.
yeah. He's like, is anything different? And he's like, tell me what's changed in the 10 years I've been gone. And he's like, men fish the sea, dig in the earth, and die. Women birth children in blood and pain and die. Night follows day. The winds and tides remain. The islands are as God made them.
Man, he's growing grim.
And
nothing. Nothing.
interesting when he says the islands are as God made them. Theon thinks immediately
Gods. He is
gods,
grim.
multiple gods. Again, it's just a saying, but it contradicts their
one
It's
god.
another monotheistic religion over here, like the Lord of Light. Unlike, I mean, I guess
I
the
didn't pick
gods
up on that.
potentially.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
I missed
No.
Wait,
It says
where the hell is that?
no. Wait, Theon says gods.
he thinks to himself, gods. He's
doesn't.
dull.
The islands
it's just
are
to
as
say,
our god. Okay.
Theon.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Theon. It's almost like Theon is more Stark
Oh
than
wait, yeah. Well, even like not even Stark, more like
seven gods or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Well, I
could
mean,
just
the
I'm
old
just-
gods were.
Again, it's just a saying. I
I
think
was gonna
it's
say, it could
mostly
be
just a
you spent
saying.
10 years with these people. You pick up some things they say, and
I
that's
mean,
just kind of one of those things.
I'm
It
a
could be that-
monotheistic. I would have said God, not gods, if it was me saying
So
that line.
here's the thing. It takes
God, he's
George
grim.
like on average like 2.5 days to write a page. I think at this point, I don't know if that's true, but it's like ridiculous. It's like a day per page.
It's longer
or, like,
than that now, right?
Longer than that. So like when there's that, like when he has that many, like if you like break down his minutes per word, each word, there's no like misstep in words. So like that's the type of thing that makes me think stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't think it really matters either way.
Okay.
I thought maybe it's interesting that like, oh, he is not
Like I
quite
said, you pick
like
up
he used to be.
colloquialisms, or I mean, even if you
you're
just
right.
hang out with some friends occasionally.
And Theon even says himself he's not religious. He doesn't really give a
Yeah.
shit one way or the other, it seems like.
Yeah, he's just doing whatever's going to make anybody happy.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
That's really-
so we get some updates on Theon's family. His mom is off the main island,
Yep, she's on Harlaw, which is another island,
and
visiting her sister.
so other than his mom, we find out his sister has taken her ship to Great Wake,
Great White. Great White, either way.
with messages from
With
her
a message
father.
from Balog.
Yeah.
And Theon thinks it's odd that her ship is named similarly to
Well,
Rob's wolf.
We skipped over it. So Aaron also tells him, like, yeah, you're kind of not the Lord anymore. Like, your sister's kind of the big shit around
Did
here.
we get there already?
I thought so.
No, I don't think so.
I'm not sure, but if we don't get it yet, we'll definitely circle back to it.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah. But yeah, so it is kind of weird that his sister and the person he thinks of as like his younger brother have Black Wind and Grey Wind, or like ship and
Yeah,
wolf.
it's definitely uncanny.
And he even says out loud like Greyjoys are black and Starks are gray, but I guess we're both windy, which I don't really think makes any sense at
Yeah.
all. And Aaron has no idea what the fuck he's talking about
How
because
does
he
that
was
make
only
sense?
Like talk a lot.
They're both windy. Like, what does that even mean?
Wind, gray wind, black wind.
I get that, but like he's saying like, oh, it makes sense why they chose these names because we're both windy. Like I get why maybe the Greyjoys are windy because they're like the storm guys in these islands.
And
But,
then
like,
they need the wind.
He's like, Stark is gray and Greyjoy is black, but I guess we're both windy. Like
I get it. I'm just saying it's a bad. I'm just saying
wind.
it's a bad joke. And the whole like, oh, this is like gray wind is only in his head. And there's no way Aaron knows what Robb Stark's wolf is named. So, like, this joke definitely doesn't hit on Aaron. Right? So, like, if Theon's going to be complaining about Aaron not being funny anymore, you got to at least be trying a little harder with your jokes. You know what I mean? This just doesn't make any sense from Aaron's point of view. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. When he did say that out loud, I'm like, what an idiot.
Yeah.
So
this is where Theon starts prying at why these ships are here.
Again,
right?
like he already answered that question.
Well, no, he said
why would they? Here. Why do you think they're here, idiot?
Theon one's more or less specific, I think.
Well, he's also he also straight up calls him out on being a grump now too. He's like, you weren't a fucking priest when I left. What happened, dude? Like, it's like I was young and vain. Now the sea washed me clean.
The sea washed it away. Yeah, exactly.
But so he's not getting the plans. He's like, dude, even to me, like you're not gonna tell me I'm
not just any man. He's like, we were told not to say any man. He's like, I'm not the any man. I'm the heir. And this is where he says,
Pike in the Iron Islands.
He's like, we shall see.
As to that, we shall see. And this is when, like, you would think Theon would be like, oh shit, what type of thing?
Yeah,
and it still hasn't clicked yet.
It's like, well, your sister still lives, and she's.
I don't know. I think it's clicking.
Dude, he's like still saying like he's the heir.
He asked like, what the fuck do you mean? And he's like, you have a sister. And he's like, yeah, but what the fuck does that mean? Like,
my brothers
she's
are
older
dead,
than me.
and I am my lord's father's only living son. He said, well, your sister lives.
And he's like, yeah, but like, she's older, but that's not how that works. Like, boys come before girls, dude.
Yeah. I will not be cheated of my rights. I warn you. Yeah.
And he's like, you're warning a servant of the drowned god? You better watch yourself, boy. He's like, you've forgotten more than you know.
Exactly.
And he's like, you're a fool if you think your father will give these lands to us, these holy lands to a Stark.
So we were talking about Balon and not giving him acceptance or a party, or I mean, even just showing up at the beginning. And I was going to say that, but we kind of moved past it. But like, he kind of sees his son now as this kind of, he's tainted, you know, obviously. And he's also kind of this memory of this time that he lost at this war and like this horrible time for all of his people and all this stuff. So like,
but I could see that going either way. Like I could see that, like I see what you're saying, but I see that I could see him more being, I would see him more being excited about him getting back. Like he is so upset that Ned killed his other sons. Like you would never call the brother of the son of the man who killed your other sons.
That's I guess what I'm getting at.
Like a guy who's this devoted to his sons, isn't he thrilled that he's getting his like last son back, the only one he has left?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I gotcha. I think that's kind of his take too. And I'm saying that's different. Most people wouldn't treat it like that, but I think you're right. That is like pretty much exactly how he's treating it.
And so like that's why he doesn't give too much of a shit about him even coming home.
Yeah, which again is
the
part of
scab
why
off
I think
it's
easy to hate Theon, but if you actually put yourself in his shoes, it's a really shitty situation.
I mean, I think it's also worth noting that the dad's obviously been talking about Theon a little bit once he got word of maybe him coming home. Like they're prepared for him to not be an Iron Man. Like they're prepared for him to be a Stark and to live like them and to have morals like them.
Well, the first thing he says with Aaron Damphair there, he's like, yo, get my things. I need my stuff.
Yeah.
Like if he was just saying, give me my bow, maybe Aaron would be like, okay, that's chill. But instead he's wearing this gilded tunic and fucking asking for all his stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're talking about a little bit more about basically after Damphair calls him or Aaron says it like you're a Stark. He says like I'm not a Stark. Like I was a hostage. Like and this is when he thinks that like Jon Snow was treated better than he was, which I think is somewhat delusional. Again, I think I do feel bad for Theon more than most people, but I think this is somewhat delusional. I think he had a pretty fucking good with the Starks
for sure.
And he thinks
I think if he was stuck with anybody else, he wouldn't have had it that good either. I think he's lucky that he got Ned
100%. Yeah, because he was so honorable. He wasn't gonna like mistreat a prisoner of war or anything like that.
When he was a kid too. Like I mean, yeah,
exactly.
He was 10 years old.
So he says that when he was young, he was really afraid of Ned and Kat. But most of the children were like so young. So Theon is 20 and Robb is 15. So he's 5 years older than Robb. And Robb's the oldest. So, like, he's right. Like until recently, Bran and Rickon's still useless. Bran was probably like Rickon until very recently. He probably never gave a shit about Arya or Sansa. So like he really didn't like the people. He says it here, like the only people that were, and he says it in a kind of condescending way. The only people that were worth his notice were Jon or Robb. Which is kind of a fucked up.
And Jon kind of hated him because he was a high birth, and Robb loved him, right?
Yeah, I mean, do you think Jon hated Theon because he was high, like was jealous of Theon?
Maybe
I think Jon hated him because he was
bit?
a douchebag.
I think they were both.
Yeah,
I think that was probably more.
I think they were both a little
bit of
jealous of each other.
But I think that goes into what Nelson was saying earlier, like the woe is me, or you might have even said it too, Jeff. You did say it. The woe is me, like, oh, I'm poor highborn. That's why nobody likes me. But it's like, no, because you're kind of human trash.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
why nobody likes you.
You're human trash.
So, do we get to Pike yet?
Real quick, so they're going and Theon.
We get more talks about the comment.
We think about Patrick Mallister. So we've heard him a few times, right? So he was one of the Mallisters. He was the son of Lord Jason Mallister. And Theon's like, fuck, I wish I was with him right now because Aeron sucks. And my ride from Riverrun to Seaguard was way better than this because Patrick was great. We were just talking about fucking people and we were drinking wine and just having a grand old time.
Talking about his brother, too. I thought that was an interesting line.
Yeah, so they Theon's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, Lord Jason Mallister, Patrick's father, saw that they were getting a little too friendly and didn't like that. And he reminded Patrick that Seaguard was made and like the point of it is to defend Westeros or like that part of Westeros
From the Greyjoys.
From the Iron Men. And like they have like a bell tower named after it or something like that.
Bronze
The
bell?
Booming Tower.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he says that but the next day, once Lord Jason wasn't there, Patrick's joking with Theon, says like, don't mind that it's only been rung once in 300 years. And Theon says, oh yeah, and that was when your dad killed my brother Roderick. And he's like, but don't worry, if he thinks that like I hold him some ill will for that, it's only because he never met Roderick. Which is like, again, just like, even if you don't like your brother, you don't fucking say that,
his
right?
brother.
Yeah, exactly, right? Shit.
I mean, maybe it's like a morbid
piece of shit Greyjoy.
It's
Huh?
maybe like a morbid joke, but like,
Runs in
yeah.
the family.
Yeah, and I don't know if I think it's later when he's talking to Balon. Balon says like, "Do you even remember your brothers?" And he's like, "I forget nothing." And it says like, "If truth be told, he just remembers one of them always being drunk and the other one always being cruel to him." So like, again, who knows if that's actually accurate or if that's more of Theon's delusion? But he probably didn't have it great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were
they're-
super
they're
nice
just
to
as
him.
bad as him.
I don't have a brother, but like I've got an older cousin. Like I'm really close with two of my cousins, and like the one used to like beat the shit out of us and like
Older
tackle
brothers do that,
football
man.
and yeah. So like there'd be times where we'd be like, man, fuck him, but then again, like he was like awesome to play, like have fun with too. You know,
That's why now that my brother and I are the same size, he could probably kick my ass because when I was younger than it, when we were like different sizes our whole childhood, and I just beat the shit out of him, he just got tough as nails because he just had to.
Yeah, hard times make
just
hard
take
men.
Like when he was at a Pirates game like a year or two ago, and he saw like some guy getting rough with his girlfriend outside a gas station as Jared was walking back to the train, and just like got in this like fight with this guy, and Jared got like fucked up and took a bunch of hits. That like basically, I didn't see it, but the pictures of Jared's face afterwards were not good. But he got that guy down and put him in a headlock after taking a bunch of hits to the face until the cops got there. And
The thing
arrested the
about
guy.
your family is they know how to take a punch.
It's just like Rocky. Exactly, we're like Rocky.
They
100%.
They never knew how to throw one, but they know how to take them.
That'll get you further a lot of times.
All right.
So they do.
It's really cool of your brother, by
they
the
talk
way,
about
though.
Huh?
It's really cool of your brother.
Yeah. He was really drunk. Yeah. He was really drunk, which probably helped. Normally helps absorb some punches, you know?
I think he just meant standing up for some
Yeah.
ladies.
Yeah, for sure.
Glove was talking
I mean,
about.
who wouldn't do that, though?
All right. So we get another mention of. Wait, why does he bring up Rob?
So basically, like, Theon's been thinking about Patrick while they've been riding, and they haven't been taught. There's been like this really long silence again, and Theon's basically like, I can't
He's
take
just
it anymore.
bringing it up. Like,
And
let's
so
talk
he's
about
just like out
something.
of the blue, he's like, Rob is Lord of Winterfell, and Aaron's like,
I think he's trying to boost his own standing as well. Like
by saying
my
like,
best friend, my best friend is
the
Lord of
king now.
Winterfell.
Or
kinda,
king
yeah.
now. He says he's king now, right? Is that what he's saying?
No, he says he's Lord of Winterfell now.
The best
Doesn't make
part
sense.
is
Doesn't Theon know he's king?
who
Theon
Rob.
was there when he got named king.
Yeah, it says right here, and he's broken fealty with the Iron Throne and crowned himself king in the North.
Oh, gotcha.
But the best part is Damphair is like, Yeah, we get the news too, motherfucker.
Yeah,
like,
earlier he says bird.
fuck.
I don't think it's this time, but I think it's earlier when Theon said something. He says
It's
like,
right now.
yeah,
It's right now.
birds fly over salt as well
The
as
Maesters Ravens
Yeah.
fly over salt as soon as rock. The news is old and cold.
rock. Aaron's condescending, just like I don't even know what you call it. I get condescending, just like put offish, like
That's what
I don't give
the
a
next
fuck
thing he
about
says
you
that
is-
is every morning brings a new day.
Yeah,
Much like
exactly.
the old. Like it's not a new fucking day. Every day's new.
Even like Damphair, even though he was cooler, it seems like probably still knew Theon as a kid. Like he's probably just like, oh, Theon, you're a little fucking brat back then. Like you probably still are now. Like maybe he never liked Theon.
Yeah, and it's hard. That's what's hard is like I wish I knew at least a little bit what it was like when Theon was younger, interacting with some of these people. Like, was he the same as he is now, or like did the war cause some of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now we get the comment again, and Damphair does agree that it's a sign for the drowned god.
A burning brand it is, such as our people carried of old. It is the flame of the drowned god brought from the sea, and it proclaims a rising tide. It is time to hoist our sails and go forth into the world with fire and sword, as he did. I guess
So
as
is the
old
drowned god a
did.
person?
Or the drowned god. I guess is kind of make it
I mean,
what it sounds like.
aren't most gods people? To some like
I don't know like religions very well, but like even Christianity, right? Like God isn't a person, right? Like Jesus is, but God isn't.
Well, God made
Then
man
what's
in
God
his own
then?
image. And Jesus is kind of considered God.
All right, moving on. We get up to the Great Keep.
So hold on, Aaron gets another little slide drop in here. Theon's like, "Oh yeah, I agree." When Damphair
it is
says the
what
thing about
comet
the
is.
gods,
Yeah.
about the comet, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I agree." And Aaron's like, "A man agrees with the gods like a raindrop with a storm," and he's like, "This raindrop's gonna be king, old man."
No piece of shit.
So yeah, basically Theon's like, "I'm done with you," and he like
Theon
rides
is
off.
still on this. Yeah, like I mean
He like rides up to
doesn't
the
seem-
castle.
Well, I know, but he doesn't seem concerned about what Aaron told him at all. Like he's just like, yeah,
That's what I'm
still
saying.
gonna be
Like,
king.
no, I'm the heir. Like, fuck Asha. It's my
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, like he does not think that he's gonna have any
Or he thinks, regardless, the note in his pouch is that important.
So the only thing at this point that I think probably makes Theon a little suspicious that this still isn't going to be a good meeting with his dad is the fact that there's no one besides Aaron to pick him up. Because at this point, he might just be thinking, Aaron is fucking weird now. You know what I mean? Like it's the
True,
only person who
yeah.
like talked with. It might just be him.
Yeah.
Like, and the last time he knew this guy, he was not like this at all. So he might just be chalking it up to 100%. Wow, dude, I can't wait to get away from this guy.
This
And-
dude
guy
has
sucks.
lost it.
yeah, like you know what I mean. It's still weird that his dad didn't send anybody, but he might just be thinking like, oh, it's just this guy. Like everything's still gonna be fine. That's the only thing I can see of. I mean, and he's just a fool who has no idea what he's in for.
Mm-hmm.
So he rides up ahead, gets to the castle. It's almost sunset. So basically, the castle. I love Pike. Pike is sick. Like,
Dude, Pike is not
This-
sick. There's so much more cooler shit than Pike.
dude, Pike is sick. This is our next Minecraft build, dude, for sure.
What's
The
going
only
to
thing
be
that's
better?
cool about it is the rope.
The Erie
the
is
rope
way better than
bridges.
this.
No, dude, you're
The
crazy.
Erie,
So, like,
you have to ride a fucking basket to get up to the fucking top. That's sick.
no, the Erie is sick too. I mean, a lot of castles are sick, but like this one is like the Erie is unique, and this one is like really unique. Like Winterfell, Storm's End, King's Landing, they're all just like big gas castles, right?
Dragonstone's cooler than Pike.
No. Maybe. I don't know. Pike's cool as
Winterfell
fuck.
has
I
hot
think Pike's
springs
really cool.
warming the walls.
What club?
Winterfell has hot springs warming the walls. That's fucking sick.
I mean, yeah, that's a minor detail.
Yeah, that's a sick.
We don't
detail.
even know about all the secret cool
Harrenhal's
details
cooler
of
than
Pike yet.
Pike.
We don't know about all the secrets in King's
In the comments,
Landing
people
either.
in the comments back me up that Pike is badass. So, well, you guys are.
I think
crazy
Pike's
about
pretty
Pike.
cool.
There's about
Pike is
15
badass.
places I'd rather visit.
I'd rather go to fucking Illyria's manse.
That's just like a house. That's just like a big house.
I know, man.
All right, so he gets there. Basically, so from the land, it's just like a giant crescent wall, like concave or convex, like away. The points are going away from him. And there's like a big gatehouse in the middle. And once you go through that, it's like a bunch of land, open space with like stables and shit. And then at the cliff, there's this huge other, maybe not huge, but like that's where the bridge starts. Goes out to basically a giant rock in the middle where there's the Great Keep. And then there's a few offspurts from that. the kitchen, I think, the kitchen keep and the bloody keep, and then the sea towers like at the tip. So they said the way they described it earlier when Jeff read the quote was the land used to look like a sword thrust into the bowels of the ocean. So it's like a giant pointy thing, but now it's all been gone and you just have like pieces along the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the broken sword.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So go ahead.
How do you fucking build a bridge from like that? Like I said, I don't trust this place.
How do they build bridges now, dude?
There was
I still
one
don't
land
understand
bridge, right?
You're an engineer, Glow. Isn't
I
that
was
like
a
what
physics
you do?
major. I wasn't an engineer.
You like build stuff though.
I build fucking houses. Not houses, but buildings, not fucking bridges.
I mean, if anybody out of us is going to know how they build bridges, it's
No
going
way.
to be you.
You saw
looked
me.
into
You
it.
saw me play that bridge game. It was awesome at that game.
I mean, they put up inflatable stuff to make water go around, and they can dig down, but it's still fucking crazy. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it in the
what I
ocean.
meant is like stone bridges. This technology level here is insane.
The thing is, though, again, you got to think about how originally you didn't need that. Originally, like you didn't need bridges because this was all a solid piece of land.
Was it a solid piece of land when they built this? Because
It said like
seems
a-
like
it said a
everything is
sword-
perfectly on its own tower, like on its own island.
That's what makes me think they've rebuilt over the years as pieces fell away. They even rebuilt the entire South Tower, right? Theon even says that here, just from since Robert was gone. Like
But
whatever that was.
wasn't that because they crushed it though?
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's got to be similar things, right?
I think there's
Rebuilding-
difference if the foundation is going away or if like a building crumbles. Like you can obviously fix the building. You can't really change the land. I mean, it's not like you're in Minecraft making cobblestone
But, like,
with
if it- yeah,
a
if,
rock
like-
and lava.
Yeah, I guess. It makes me also think that like when this was a giant sword out into the ocean, that like it wasn't just like a solid castle up to the edge of the cliff, like in the shape of a sword. You know what I mean? Like it was buildings on that land enclosed by this curtain wall. And yeah, pieces fell away. And like if there was a building that looked like it was going to fall away, they're like, fuck. And maybe they like extended the other side and I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
We're spending
There's
way
thousands
too
of
much time and it doesn't
I just
fucking
love this
matter.
castle, dude. I love this castle. But yeah, you're right. They get there, in this land areas where like the stables are. So he gets his horse taken, and there's like Aaron
We
basically
kind of
is like,
glossed over it, but there's still evidence of like everywhere of what Robert smacked, like just like catapult hits everywhere and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so this is still fresh, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And then it does tie into kind of like I said earlier about with Balon, how he feels about Theon, like this whole.
The memory of
Like,
this shit.
This wasn't a past war. This
Yeah.
is a recent war.
yeah, they still hold grudges type thing.
Yeah.
And one thing we did slightly pass over, but I think it's enough to point out, is when he pulled into Lordsport, he noticed that the Sept, a lot of buildings had been destroyed and rebuilt. The Sept had not been rebuilt. He could still see the seven-sided thing. And he says Robert Baratheon's fury had like gave them a bad taste for the gods. It's just interesting because Robert Baratheon's war galley was called. Oh no, Stannis Baratheon's
Stannis'
war galley is
Fury,
called
right?
Furies.
Yeah.
You're right. I thought it was Robert's galley, and I was like, that's double. But yeah, never mind. But yeah, they didn't rebuild the Sept. So he gets here, and basically a couple of things happen. He finds out that guy that I said earlier is dead. Silas Sourmouth is dead, and there's a new steward, I guess. I don't know if this is a steward. She says she's the keeper
Maester
of the
Kaelin?
castle. There is a new Maester. Maester Kaelin was the old one. He died. And Maester Wendemir is the new
Wendemir
one.
keeps the ravens now.
But Silas Sourmouth died, and Hela is the new castle keeper. So I don't know if she's a steward. She doesn't seem very like
Castleton?
like Sir
Stewarding.
Roderick is like the steward of right.
No, I thought
guess he's
Sir
the master
Roderick
of
was the
arms.
castle.
Yeah.
Castleton.
Yeah, he's the master of arms. I don't know. I thought steward would be like somebody more important, but
What
maybe
is
it's
steward?
still Hario.
Yeah, I don't know.
So he says that Theon thinks that like everything's changed, but also nothing's changed, and then he like basically tells her to take him to his new chambers.
The best part is like he's expecting to go back to like the main, like really nice cabin, I guess, or as nice as it
Well,
gets.
no, he was expecting to go back to his childhood bedroom, basically. But
Sure,
he said the
but
room
he
he
said
gets is
nice.
bigger and better. The
Well, I
room he
think-
gets is bigger and better.
Dude, the room
I
he
thought
got
this was
was the
what-
bloody keep.
Yeah, and read the next
But
line.
it's huge.
The chambers were bigger than his old ones. He just
Yeah,
expected
but
to
they're
go to his old
dusty.
bedroom.
He might have been more impressed if he didn't know what the bloody keep, how it got its name. 1,000 years before the sons of the River King had been slaughtered here, hacked to bits in their bed so that pieces of their bodies might be sent back to their father on the mainland. People were murdered in this room.
Sure, but I don't think that was what I think if anything, this is meant to be kind of like make people think about like, oh, when you go away to college or whatever, and then you like move out, and when you come home to visit your parents, or you go back and like they've turned your room into a den, and you have to like sleep on the couch or something like that type thing. Or like you just sleep in a different spot, or you get I don't know. I thought it was like something like that. Where
I thought they were trying to put him up.
Are they going to keep his room the same?
I wouldn't expect him to put in his old room anyway. Like it's a kid's room, basically, is what I was thinking.
He probably still had a race car bed and everything.
Yeah, it's not like they decorated for a kid. Like maybe I had a smaller bed, but.
All right, real quick, backtrack. Steward is in charge of supplying food, clothing, and anything else for the people of the castle.
So yeah, I guess it could just be anybody.
All right, moving on.
I think they need to know how to read and write, though.
So Theon gets a nice hot bath. He gets all of his
a tepid bath. He asked for a hot bath. But
yeah, it's not as hot as he wanted. Whatever.
And it's seawater.
That's pretty gross. Because like when you get out of the
like
sea,
how clean
it's
are
like,
you getting? You know what I mean?
It's like you still feel like salty and sticky. Like it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, but they're people of the sea, man. They should be used to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, but so he gets he starts getting dressed. He puts on his bleached white leather belt and nice gold chain. He's got the nice Kraken sigil, and
he puts on like a gold. Yeah, you said the gold chain.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just dresses too fancy, basically.
Yeah, way too fancy.
He gives some commands like, make sure all these hearths are good because it's fucking cold as shit in here, and clean these rushes. He said that he didn't think that the rooms had been opened in like for fucking ever, just because it smelled like damp and
yeah.
Like he said like everything was wet. Like
room.
the bed was like wet and like the sheets were wet and damp.
The whole island is damp. That's why it sucks.
Yeah. So then the last bridge to get to the sea tower. So he has to cross 3 more bridges. The last one is rope and wood. And he gets like halfway and he's like shitting himself. And he's like, how the fuck? I used to run across this thing at nighttime when I was like 10 years old. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? And he thinks, what's Kyle, you have it in front of you. What's the quote?
Boys believe nothing can hurt them. His doubt whispered, grown men know better.
Yeah. Which is just like,
I mean, that's like just real life. That's even now.
I think that all the fucking time, dude. When I just like look back on shit, then I'm like, how did that not kill me? You know what I mean? That I do that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you got hit by like 4 cars, dude.
Yeah, we got hit by multiple cars.
You got hit by cars?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, on his bike. Yeah. He was driving his bike like an idiot. I remember when Steve tackled you into a car.
Steve tackled me into that car and I dented the hood. All right, let's keep going before we tell all these bad stories. So he gets there and he knocks on this like the big ass door. It's like moldy. There's like shit on it, damp everywhere. Somebody comes in. He's like, "Are you the son?" He's like, "You're gonna learn who I am if you don't get the fuck out of the way." And the guy actually gets out of the way. So then,
I mean, he was probably like, "All right, kid, like, go ahead."
That's the right answer.
He's like, "Yeah, this is him." Yep.
Yeah.
I was told you're a douchebag.
Oh, this daughter dressed in black and gold and fancy clothes. Like, okay, buddy, go ahead.
Yeah, you're the guy who's not from the Islands for sure. So he goes up and Balon basically just like, they've had you 9 years, and Theon's like 10.
They've had you as long as me.
Like, they took a boy, what'd they give back? And he's like, your son and your heir.
A man, your blood.
He says the same thing that
I think it's
Danfair
great
said.
that they say the same thing.
He's like, we'll
word
see.
for word.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, now you come as Stark's envoy. He's like, no, Ed's dead. Eddard is dead.
And he's like, both of them. He's like, I vowed I'd see both of them die before I died or something. He's like, but even now that they do, he's like, my bones still ache. He's like, so what's it fucking matter anyway? Which like, he's like happy, but he seems like it's not
he just seems like it's not.
He's not content.
It actually kind of makes it seem like he would give up on fighting. Like, what's it even worth anymore?
Yeah, like what's the point? But does not seem
what
where
happens.
he's at. Yeah, exactly.
This is where he just starts coming at his outfit. Like,
with Theon's like, I brought a letter. And then he's like, yeah, did Ned dress you like a pansy like that?
Yeah, he said it made him happy to dress you up in silks like a little daughter. And he's like, I'm no man's daughter. He's like, if my clothes offend you, I'll change. He's like, you will fucking change. And he asked about the gold pendant. And I think this is the first time we heard it, right? Have we heard about this before? The gold and iron price?
No, you're right.
Yeah, this is the first we hear of it, which is a pretty badass thing.
So let's get
what did you
into
pay for it?
Who wants to explain this?
I don't think it's that badass. Like, men are only allowed to wear jewelry if they buy it with blood, essentially. You have to take it off your corpses that you killed.
So this was something like Balon gets into it later in this
definitely
chapter,
badass.
and this read through was the first time I ever noticed it. We'll talk about it now. We'll wait. So yeah, basically he says like, did you pay the gold or iron? Iron means like you have to kill somebody and take it. You can't pay for shit, like Kyle said. And when Theon admits that, he just rips it right off his throat and throws it in the fire. Also, this thing doesn't melt in the fire immediately, and the shit that burnt
Like the crown?
Viserys did.
Yeah.
So what the fuck's up with that?
We've seen it. There's been a bunch of
Different gold.
no. I don't know. There's been a bunch of I've seen videos on Twitter like this gold wouldn't have melted. Like,
yeah, for the
the
Viserys
fire
thing.
wasn't hot enough to melt this
Yeah,
gold.
for the Viserys thing. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that's a problem too.
It's bigger fire, more flame.
Yeah. So he rips it off his neck.
I still don't think it could be hot enough. Like I don't know, just like a campfire wouldn't reach
Yeah,
that
not at
temperature.
all.
But
Especially not that fast. So he throws it in the thing, and he says, "My daughter's taking an axe for a lover. I will not have my son bedeck himself like a whore."
dude, he just comes at him and comes
I
at
know.
him.
That's what I'm saying. Like Theon is like just coming
He
home.
deserves
like,
it. Like
why?
you know how your dad is. That's one thing. Like if your
He
dad,
was 10, dude.
no, dude, you're old enough at 10 years old to know your
I don't
dad.
know.
Your dad's a
To know that if
dickbag.
you show up wearing something that you bought,
Fourth
like,
grade, dude. I
when
remember.
you're 10, you're
I
not-
remember.
His dad's a fucking loser.
when you're
dick,
10, you're not
man.
wearing jewelry and shit. Like, how would Theon's never had
Dude,
this?
it's not
like, at least
about
firsthand
how
experience.
his dad. He obviously cares about his dad and wants to be in good standing with him. He did nothing in this trip to be in good standing. Like he forgot. He literally said he forgot about the old way and the iron price.
You're right.
It has
So-
been
like,
so long.
You know who your dad is. He knows who his dad is. He came in doing everything he knew his dad would piss off his dad.
kind of to like what Kyle said earlier, though, like Balon could have gone like through a huge shift when this war happened, right? Like he could have been a totally kind of like not as I'm not saying like as drastic as Aeron, but like he lost 3 sons. Kyle said
3 sons.
Theon. He's treating Theon as dead. He lost 2 sons and he treat Theon as lost. He lost 3 sons at this
Sure.
time. Like that would change somebody. Like he might not have been
Doesn't sound
this
like it. Doesn't sound like
hardcore
it.
before. Like I think he was like hardcore old way. I mean, Theon said like I knew the rebellion was about the old way instead of about a crown. So he definitely knew. But I'm just saying,
Listen,
I don't think
this
Theon
is the
expected
truest.
to like.
This is the truest quote I've ever heard. If you plant corn, you get corn. And Balon obviously planted corn because all 3 of his sons are little dickheads from the sounds of it. So that means he was a dickhead. If you plant corn, you get corn. Okay.
Yeah, but Theon. So, but that
Yeah,
to
no.
that logic, Theon
If
would
you
not have done
plant
this to
corn,
himself.
you get corn.
Theon would not have done this to himself. Theon wouldn't have got pissed about somebody wearing jewelry in his presence, which like kind of
That's
defeats
because
that
he's
statement.
not.
Yeah,
That's because
he's
he's not
from
the old
He's
way.
not corn.
He's
not
Stark
corn.
now.
No, he's still
Balon
corn.
didn't
He's
get
still
corn.
a dickhead. It's. I'm talking about what's underneath the clothes. They're dickheads.
You got some bullshit celery with Theon.
Moving on. I'm right. You're wrong.
I'm not saying don't hate Theon. I'm just saying think about every once in a while. It fucking sucks to be him. Like,
Sure.
what would you have done in this situation?
He's also
what would you
not-
have done different, Jeff? What would you have
Times
done
I'm-
different?
change, old man.
If I'm
That's what I
trying
would
to appease my dad,
Yeah.
I'm doing everything that I can
you're
think
Theon,
of
what
to
do you
make
do?
him happy.
Yeah, so what do you do?
I'm dressing like a fucking scoundrel pirate with nothing
Does
on.
he have that stuff though? That's the other thing.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
I
got
mean,
he's got his
Just buy all
like
the
he'd have been
fucking maid
he'd have
he was
been
banging.
better wearing his like muddy ass like he should have went like rolling around like maybe been all wet like oh no I just got out of the ocean like took a good swim type shit like he could have
Like,
done
I
a
forgot
lot
what I
better.
I swam
As soon-
here from Old
as-
Wick.
Or like as soon as they pull up in the dock, like jump off and be like, I wanted to feel the Iron Island sea on my
Or
skin
just like
again, type thing.
instead of going to see his dad, just be like, oh no, I just wanted to take a boat off real quick. Like go take a boat, like do a lap around the thing yourself. Like I don't know. Do something that doesn't like show like I'm the
I mean, like
I'm
if
the
you're,
prissy
little
little fucking guy
Tyrion or
from
Littlefinger, you're just like not going to bail on ever. You're like making him come to you or doing some shit like that, right? But like Theon is just like a kid who's like been away from his family and wants approval from his family. He's so happy to be back. He's like, I got this fucking letter. It's everything my dad's ever wanted. Like he's literally gonna get to be a king. There's no way this is gonna go poorly. And like I understand what you're saying, like know what you're about to go up against, but
yeah.
Theon's like obviously his judgment's clouded, and while he's a
Sure.
dick, he gets fucked on here, dude.
He does
Bad,
get fucked
like
on.
you said.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
He gets
But we
fucked
also-
on hard.
He gets
like,
fucked on hard.
The biggest part of this is coming up soon, and I'm just going to
All right,
get
let's
to
go.
it. Like
Let's go.
it's the letter, and he's like,
Yeah.
oh, and the words exactly is he's giving you a crown. Like that sets him off. Like, that's the last thing that he would want to hear. Like,
and we talked about this in the Cat chapter because because Cat says, like, how are you going to get Balon on your side? Like, he rebelled against us last time. And Robb says, if he wants a crown, I'll give him a crown. And I brought this up in the spoiler section. I said,
I think we were all like ready for it.
I was like, this is what Balon does not like. And we talked about like the gold price and iron price in that spoiler section. And we're like, we know this is going to be bad. And it's coming right from Robb's lips, like from the get go. Right. And if we knew about it, I guess to Jeff's point, maybe Theon should have remembered. Right. If we remembered as soon as we saw it. Maybe Theon should have, but I don't know.
I mean, I think that comes into the whole half his life has been with the Starks. Like, he doesn't remember all this shit, and it's the most recent half has been like with them.
Sure,
like,
I agree to a point. Like, he's definitely not fresh, but he's definitely was old enough to. You learn a lot as a kid.
I don't remember being 10.
You're 100% right.
I can remember specifics about.
Like, my sister's 12, and she
10,
just got into middle school.
Even younger. You're in like 4th grade.
3rd, 4th grade. I don't remember shit from 3rd, 4th grade.
I
don't know.
I do.
If you were taken
you
from
guys
3rd
have
grade,
bad memories.
The difference is though, Jeff. If you were, I think you're looking at this. I don't know if rose-colored glasses is the right thing, but like it's hard to actually put yourself in those type of shoes. If you were taken at 3rd grade and went and lived with a different family until you were in high school, would you actually know that? Like, I'm not saying you wouldn't know anything, but I don't think you would know you would remember as much about like your parents.
Remember
like you wouldn't
some
know
main
if your parents,
fucking things.
Like
for
you
sure.
wouldn't know. Would you know if you were taken when you were 3 and had to go live with another family?
Not
would
3.
You know if your parents,
not 3. 3rd grade.
3rd grade. 3rd grade. Would you know if your parents were Republicans or Democrats? Would you know that if you went to go visit them? That's. I'm not saying that's the exact same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same
very
thing
similar,
at all.
dude.
No, it's not.
It's shit that like kids you don't really deal with kids about. I think it's similar.
You're gonna remember, like as a kid, though, like what got you in trouble.
I
like
hate
you're
when
gonna
Colin
remember.
Blow just sit there and don't.
You're gonna
take a
remember
side on
the
this
principles
shit.
that you were raised on.
I'm trying to.
You're gonna
think.
remember.
We don't need to have another argument.
Is that an okay analogy,
So
though?
Nelson, I
I'm on your
disagree
side, Nelson.
because Bran was brought to a beheading when he was 7 to know. Oh, yeah, when you deal a sentence, you got to fucking deal it yourself.
It's different
And
than
that's
now.
something
You're right.
that was
Okay,
instilled in them at a young age. So I agree with Jeff here. Jeff, I agree with you.
Thank you, Glow. And that's what I'm saying. Like maybe not like every little detail. Like his dad liked to eat lemon pie for dinner, but he's gonna remember like when he was 7 years old and.
He got pissed at my older brother for XYZ or whatever.
Yeah, and his dad was like, "Hey, you don't fucking
wear that pussy shit around me."
Yeah, like he would have known some principles that his dad fucking lived on for sure.
Are you gonna give me at least a little bit? If you're Theon in this situation, you could see how you don't take all that into account.
Who does Theon care about, Jeff?
Theon.
Yeah. So why does he give a shit about what his dad thinks?
Because he knows he needs his dad to get what he wants. If he's smart at all, he knows he needs his dad. But
so let's circle back real quick to earlier in the conversation because we jumped to
that's why he looked over that.
We jumped to the letter. Let's circle back real quick. This is when he says that we get the whole like Balon getting pissed that like Theon doesn't talk about his brothers and says like, "Oh, you're coming to me like a trained raven. The green lands made you soft." Mm-hmm. And Theon says like, "The letter was my idea. I told Robb this idea, not the other way around.
I fall with him. He trusts me like a brother."
Like an older brother. This isn't where he slaps him, right?
He jabbed a finger at his face. Not here, not in Pike, not in my hearing. You will not name him brother.
He basically says like, "You will not call the man of the
who killed your brothers.
Man of the man who killed your brother, like the man of the father, the son of the man. Yeah, I don't know, the son of the man who killed your brother's brother in my hearing." And Theon to himself's like, well, Ned didn't actually kill either of them. One was Jason, the other one died in the collapse. But like Jeff says, like I forget nothing. And this is when he also says like,
"This is when we get into Robb's plan, basically, right?" Like
what I do remember of them isn't good. No, I jumped back a little bit before the letter even started, and he talks about like how they died. Meryn died in the collapse of the tower. The other one died from the other guy.
Well, he doesn't even he doesn't bring that up to his dad.
No, he doesn't.
No, he thinks about it. That he doesn't really remember.
I remember my brothers very well, and he was like, "I remember when you were a king too."
Yeah, exactly. And doesn't Balon say something? Oh, this isn't yet. Later, Balon actually like respects Theon for talking back to him, right?
No, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, he has a little bit of respect.
But he's like, so he's gonna give me a crown again, and all I got to do is fight his fucking war for him.
Exactly.
That's all it's gonna cost me.
So here's where we get Robb's plan, which I think is big. We kind of talked about a little bit of this, and because we don't get Rob POVs, even I didn't really 100% remember exactly what Rob did.
Yeah.
But we get it. So, Kyle, what's Rob's next plan?
He's at the Golden Tooth.
Theon says by now he's probably at the Golden Tooth. Yes.
He's going west.
Yeah, he'll be through the hills in a day. Lord Tywin's host is at Heron Hall, cut off from the west. The Kingslayers are captive at River Run. Stafford and the Green Levies are at the
they're like the only ones in the west, basically.
at Castle Rock. Yeah.
He said there's going to set up between Castle Rock, Lannisport. Castle Rock's basically the same thing. Castle Rock's at Lannisport. Lannisport's a city. Castle Rock's a castle.
Okay.
He's going to set up in between Rob and that. And
Sir Stafford.
Will. Yeah. So we heard in the last cat chapter, I think, that Sir Stafford, who is Tywin's brother, maybe, is gathering like anybody who's left in the Westerlands, like newer, greener people, which is why it says green levies, because
So pretty much he's saying Rob's drawing him out of the city. It's our turn to go take the city.
Exactly. We're going to come from the sea and take it.
This is what kind of pisses me off. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not.
Yep, we can.
Awesome. So the letter says give him a crown, but like at the same time, he's earning the fucking crown. He's going to fucking war.
Yeah, he has to earn it 100%.
It's like, you're paying the iron price. You're fucking killing people for it. Shut the fuck up, you piece of shit.
So, like Theon says later, like a poor choice of words. And it was just like to Glow's point, it was literally just a poor choice of words. If he would have said, come win your crown with me.
Yeah.
This might be different.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it would be. Because like you said, like Balon seems like he knows what's going to happen beforehand. Like he already has a plan. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But it definitely wouldn't have hurt his cause.
So pretty much Theon's like, well, when this is all over, you're going to give me Casterly Rock. That's all I ask.
And he's like, oh, a grand reward for just... Because, again, Theon's like been pushing his head. Like, this was all my idea. This was my idea. He's like, oh, so you would reward yourself handsomely for just like a few words on a piece of paper. And...
So this is where he's like, I'm going to take it back. I will take my crown, as Euron Redhand did 5,000 years ago. And Theon's like, well, take it then. Like, call yourself king. No one gives a shit. Like, once someone's king, they're just going to laugh at you anyway. And then this is when Balon's like, all right, at least you're not a whole pussy. And I'm not a fool either. This is what we're doing. And they get into Balon's plan.
Do they even get
so
into
hold
it?
on. What is it the thing that Balon... What does Balon slap him for?
What a slap you. Slap.
When he says it was...
have you gone mad?
When he burns the letter.
He burned the letter
He
from
burned
Rob.
the letter. So he's like...
I mean, I guess that was like the only proof he really had of a partnership.
So Balon also kind of gives hint to why he doesn't like the word give. He says... Because when Theon's like, oh, he didn't mean what he said.
Whatever is given can be taken away.
That's what Balon says. Whatever's given can be taken away. It means like I didn't really earn it. That means somebody gave it to me and they can... Yeah, it means they still like hold like some type of superior ownership over it, even though they gave it to me type thing.
Yeah.
He's like, have you gone mad? And that's when he slaps him.
Mind your tongue. You are not in Winterfell now, and I am not Rob the Boy, that you should speak to me so. I am the Greyjoy, Lord Reaper of Pike, King of Salt and Rock, Son of the Sea and Wind. And no man gives me a crown. I pay the iron price. I will take my crown, as Euron Redhand did 5,000 years ago.
Yeah. And Theon's basically like, fine, call yourself a king. No one will care until the war's over. And basically, when it's all done, they'll look around and be like, oh, look, that moron's out there just naming himself a king. And this is when Balon's like, all right, you got some balls. He's like, at least you're no coward. But I'm no fool. And like, I'm not just going to sit here and call myself a king. And he's like, I didn't call my sails to watch them float at anchor. I mean to carve out a kingdom with fire and sword. And he's like, and not Castle Rock. Castle Rock's too strong. It won't fall. And not at the bidding of some boy king. And he says Tywin's too cunning anyway. It wouldn't work. He's like, there's a different plum. Not so juicy sweet, but it hangs just as ripe and undefended. And Theon was going to ask him where, but he already knew. Kyle, do you know?
Dun, dun.
So there's two options.
Yep, let's hear him.
And it's King's Landing or it's Winterfell.
King's Landing.
I think it's going to be King's Landing.
I'll say King's Landing is on the water, and Winterfell is not on the water at all. But King's Landing is on the complete other side of the...
I was going to say it's on the other coast, yeah. So, but
they got fast ships.
That's really the two places that he would go, though. Like, he hated Robert, and he hated Ned.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So, like, I mean, where else would he be headed? I mean, I guess if you're gonna make me make a choice, I would say King's Landing. But I like there's this like sneaking part of me that thinks he's pissed at Rob. But I mean, Ned and Robert are both dead, so it's weird. It's this weird. How do you know for sure?
We'll know in Theon too, I guess.
So earlier we were kind of tiptoeing around something. What's up with Theon next then? It seemed earlier like you think Theon's going back to Rob with some counter proposal or something.
When they took like Castle Rock and all that, like they were going to meet back up and yeah.
But that's obviously not what's happening, right? You just said they're not going to Castle Rock; they're going to either King's Landing or Winterfell. Is your prediction? So I'm saying, what do you think is going to happen with Theon? Like, what's the next Theon chapter?
I think he's going to be with his dad. I think he should probably go back to Rob though, but I don't know that he's gonna. So
I'm saying when Theon gets back to his chambers tonight, say he tells him to attack Winterfell, right, instead of Castle Rock. There's a huge conflict within Theon, right? Like, what do I do now? Like, do I choose the family who is my family, but who has been a dick to me this past day? Or do I choose the family who's not my family, but he says they've been a dick to him all his life, but what we've seen seems like not that. Again, I don't think Winterfell makes sense because it's inland, and that's not like...
And they're a navy.
You just can't attack great. So I'm not saying saying that's a thing, but it's definitely interesting to think about. And it's a conflict for Theon. Like is definitely in a tough place here if that's what's going to be asked.
I think it's all very tough, and I mean I think that goes back to what you were talking about before, where he's
hard
just
times make hard men.
Of this shit sandwich.
Yeah, and again, I don't like Theon. It's easy to hate Theon, and I don't hate him. He's obviously a douchebag, but he's in some. I think he's in a bad situation here. That it's kind of a lose-lose. Like I don't know. Like whatever's asked, he's either whatever it is, he's being asked to like say no to Rob, who's like his best friend, and like this guy who like he came into this thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a great thing, everything's gonna work out great, and basically he's like, fuck all that, you're gonna either listen to me or like you're just gonna listen to me. That's the deal.
I like Kyle's predictions. Let's sign off and get it rolling.
Yep, and we got anything else? We've been definitely podcasting for a while.
I'm good.
All right, Cal. It was great hanging out, bud. Kyle, if you're listening, make sure you like and subscribe, and especially on Spotify or YouTube.
Oh, I won't be listening.
Okay, never mind then. All right, but see you on the next episode, Cal.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right, later on, guys.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
See you later, Kyle. It was great hanging out.
Bye,
We'll see you on the
Kyle.
next episode for Daenerys 1 of A Clash of Kings.
Holy tits, we
my
only get 4
gosh.
of them too. Spoiler alert.
Really? We only get 4
Daenerys'
Dannys? I didn't know that.
in this book.
Sheesh.
It's all the entire car story.
Oh, nice. But yeah, I just have 2 things to bring up basically, and that's about it.
There's a sweet mention.
First thing I'm bringing up, fuck you guys. Not your hot takes, my hot takes. When you guys were talking about a baptism earlier, the baptism's when they get fucking drowned in the...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dan
for
Parrott-
sure.
Yeah, so that's not a baptism what he went through. So I just wanted to bitch at
Theon
you
got
for
the
that.
fake one. And like that is a
He got
real
blessed.
thing, right? Like
He got blessed.
I'm trying to think like that's different. Like that's not just a show thing, right? Like they actually drown people.
They drown. Yeah.
They drown and then come back to life. And then
But
what's
don't you
dead
think
may
like
never
most
die.
people go through that already? Like, would he have done that as a kid? Like, hey, quick drown the kid, then
probably
bring him
like-
back type shit?
It might be like a manhood thing.
I mean, it does make sense to do it when they're younger, though, so you don't waste so much of money and shit feeding this kid who's just gonna. It seems like
Waste
it's a toss up, right? Like it's not like a man's gonna survive CPR better than a. I mean, maybe.
Do they give
right?
him CPR or
think
just
so.
like let him
Yeah, they give him
choke it up?
CPR.
Okay.
I think a man will have a better chance. They're stronger of body.
Yeah, you might break a rib or two, but whatever. It's unimportant. But yeah, I agree with you, Glow. Like that's definitely in their religion, I would say, the baptism.
No,
And just
okay.
like getting
the
dressed
actual
is
drowning.
the
actual drownings
yeah.
are baptism. What
Yeah,
he
I'm
got
surprised
But
they
for
didn't
what
do that
Kyle
to him.
needs to know right now, like he doesn't need to know the details.
No.
I mean, there's obviously like weird. I don't know what it means, but like, there's a weird similarity between Dan Fair and Patchface. Like I don't really
Yeah.
have more than we said in the non-spoiler section, but like
Well, I mean, are you gonna get big on like Patchface being a drowned god?
I mean that's like a thing that I mean, we've talked. I think we've mentioned that in spoiler section stuff before.
Yeah,
that,
we have.
that,
All right,
he's
before
definitely,
we
like,
get
a
into
prophet
Patchface
for
going
or
crazy,
whatever. I don't really have. I honestly don't have much for this. Like in this chapter, I think it's a lot. It's a long chapter, but I think it's mostly world building to tell you like history of the Greyjoys, and B, just how the Iron Islands are now and how they're like different from the mainland. How they're just like kind of like the stuff Jeff was saying. Like you're saying, Jeff. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. That the Iron Islands are like harder and they're more about like the old way than the rest of the Greenlands. But I think for the most part, except for Greyjoy, they're like half and half. Well, Greyjoy's like 100% old way. If you're not old way, you're fucking toast. The rest of them were like, yeah, we prefer.
Well, let me just say something. I didn't remember one thing about another great or Iron Man. So
I'm just saying.
I was just standing on my mountain to argue.
And I
don't remember any conversations that happened in the future with Iron Man.
Yeah, and I got you, and I don't have a prepared one like you said. Oh, we'll talk about it in the spoiler section, and we can talk about it a little bit. But like, Asha has like many people that she's friends with that are like Ironborn. There's a guy like I think it's Tristane Botley, and there's like a bunch of people we meet that are like not high, like they're high lord. They're like the Manderleys or the Karstarks or that type of house, but for the Iron Islands, and they seem just like
chill.
The Manderleys, or they don't seem like super hardcore. We only fight people type thing. They're definitely like more.
They're probably the people that are fucking sowing the fields and mining the mines.
I mean, they're not, because they're the lords, right? None of the lords are doing that shit. Like they're not the actual. I mean, maybe they have people under them that do that shit, but they're not the ones doing that shit either way. I'm just saying that they've been like kind of more accepting of that lately.
All right, I got one.
Is Euron the one that gets raped by Euron?
Go ahead.
Euron gets raped?
Doesn't Euron, like Euron fucks Euron?
When they were kids?
Yeah, he used to fuck Euron and their brother. I forget what their brother's name
shit, I didn't remember that.
Not Victarion. There was another brother who died. That once Euron starts getting chapters, he has a lot of regret about this, where like he has dreams of like a rusty door hinge noise. Ooh. And it was always Euron coming into him, and he's like, I gotta look it up now. I forget his brother's name, but it was like Euron would come into their room, and there's a part where like Euron. This might even be in a Winds of Winter chapter, so spoiler potentially if you haven't read the Winds of Winter Euron chapter. There's a part where like he talks about when he would hear the rusty hinge of the door, he would pray to God, and Euron asked him, he's like, but were you praying that I would come to you to spare your brother who was like terminally, I think he had grayscale, the brother. It's like, were you praying that I would come to you so that to spare your brother? Or were you praying that your terminally ill brother would get raped instead of you? And it's just like this mental torture on Euron, because like, obviously if you're in that situation, you're praying that it's not you. But now having hindsight of your brother who died of this disease, and you basically prayed that he would be raped by your brother, right? Not praying that it's not you is almost the same as praying that it's him. There's this huge conflict within Euron that is basically eating up inside. So like once we get Euron chapters, it gets way more enlightening of like kind of the shit he's gone through and why. I'm not saying why he is the way he is.
I mean, it definitely makes sense of why, maybe more reasons why he found religion.
Yeah, I mean, there was I don't know.
One, he got spit out by the sea, like he should have died.
100%. That's 100% drowned God.
Maybe like, the reason, probably.
If that happens to you, if you literally go somewhere you should have drowned,
you're finding religion in some way or another.
Especially if everyone around you
worships
the drowned God.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
Like Patchface is the same situation. Why doesn't he become the most devout? A,
probably because he's not
loony,
and he's not from there.
Because he's not from there.
Yeah.
Nobody worships a god that's like is all about drowning and staying alive anyway. But yeah, like Euron is like an interesting as fuck character. The Winds of Winter Euron chapter is like, I think one of like some of the best like reading. So I hate scary movies. I cannot fucking stand scary movies. Like jump scares and shit like that kill me. But I love like thriller suspense type shit.
Like Shutter Island.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Shit.
So like reading, like anything that doesn't have a jump scare. Like even
Saw,
they
have jump scares though.
Like even Saw, for the most part, there's not like huge jump scares. It's like
Dude,
gross
Saw
and like
is terrifying.
It's
So
gross.
it's not scary.
Dude, they have like jump out scenes where like the pig mask lady like jumps
Yeah.
out of the
You're
closet.
right. There is. But there's
Dude,
not.
Saw
That's not
is
the type,
terrifying.
It's not like paranormal activity where that's what it lives off of.
They're
is
all
jump
terrifying.
scares.
I'm so soft too when it comes to scary movies. Just quick story on Paranormal Activity. I went to see it, the first one in theaters, and I thought it was a true story. Like I thought it was all. You never seen it, Chloe said?
It does
I
look like
haven't
that.
seen
It's
Paranormal,
basically
Like,
like
it's
a ghost
filmed like
story
that.
about like this family moving into a house and they like weird shit starts happening. So like it looks like it's filmed with like a handheld camera or like a camera on a tripod. And I thought it was like actual film. Like I thought this was a real fucking story. Like it was crazy.
You should watch Blair Witch Project.
No, I can't. I'm not good. But all right.
Great movies. They're a little scary, but they're great. Is oh wow, I can't even think of it now. Never mind. I'll bring it up
All
later.
right, bring it up when you can. All right, we got a sweet mention here. All right, they talk about
Oh, I
the
didn't even
take.
notice it.
Hold on, real quick.
Why can't I
just
go,
pulled up
motherfucker?
just wrap up the thing I just said. So about the other brother, I just looked it up. The fourth brother's name is Urizen Greyjoy, and the wiki says he was the fourth son. He died in childhood from an infection. Urigon and his brother Aeron, who's damn fair, were great friends during childhood. They were both sexually abused by their brother
AIDS.
Euron
He died from
as
AIDS.
children. Urigon and Aeron often played the finger dance together. Once Aeron threw an axe that shaved off part of Urigon's hand. So the finger dance is where you throw axes back and forth, and whoever loses a finger fucking loses. So Aeron did that to his brother, who he was good friends with. They insisted on sewing his fingers back on instead of treating the amputation. And because they tried to sew his fingers back on instead of
Infection.
treating the amputation, he died from that infection.
Hmm.
So like Aeron,
Killed
like
him?
later in the chapters, feels personally responsible for killing him, even though it probably wasn't his fault. It was probably his father's fault, because I think his father was the one who insisted they sew his fingers back on instead of
Whatever.
trying to treat the infection or whatever.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah,
cool.
there's definitely like Aeron is fucked up on a mental scale from Euron. Also, just the fact that we get the mention of silence,
yeah.
dope.
So
Why
that's
is it
cool.
why is it called silence? Also, interesting that Theon knows it's called silence. I thought this was like a recent thing. The silence. Do you know why it's called silence?
He chops out all the tongues of the slaves
Yeah.
on his ship.
I thought that was a recent thing. Like I thought he started doing that after he left the Greyjoy Islands.
I mean,
But
I
if
feel like
Theon
he's been
knows
gone
this-
for a while. No.
Well, he was banished. So why? Who knows? Who remembers why he was banished? And I don't even know if this is right. This is why I think
He
Probably 'cause
raped
he was
his brothers.
practicing other religions.
he had sex with Victarion's wife. Euron did, and then Victarion killed his own wife because of it. He said he had to just murder her. He wanted to kill Euron, but he said he couldn't do fratricide. Was that brother?
I think
killing
so. Yeah.
brother?
Yeah, something like that.
He wouldn't do it, so instead he killed his wife. And then I think Balon.
Yeah, I
banished
feel like that
Euron
was a
for it.
long time ago. Like, I feel like he's been out and about. And even when he was at the Iron
But,
Islands.
like, was that when Theon was there?
Sure.
is what
Well,
I'm asking.
wasn't he when he was with even like kind of there? He was always out and about, like just sailing a ship around the world.
I don't know. I always assumed that like he was there and like chilling with everybody else until that happened. Then he was gone.
It was up to
But the
me
fact that
like
Theon
once he
knows
got his
about
ship,
it-
like he was out and about, and then coming back maybe sometimes and
I don't
fucking
know.
people's wives.
But I caught you off a few times, Jeff. Go
All
on.
right, so we get a sweet mention. Glow missed it, idiot.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it.
What is it?
Lord Balon grunted, Castle Rock has never fallen. Until now, Theon smiled, and how sweet that will be.
Now that you said that, doesn't it later when he's talking about Winterfell, there's like another plum sits ripe for the
Ripe.
taking.
Not
He's
so
like-
juicy sweet, to be sure, yet it hangs there ripe and undefended.
I mean, this is schemy, right? What's going on here is like we don't. Also, we can talk about a little bit into this. Kind of goes along with it. The Kyle prediction. Did I give him too much with the Winterfell?
You gave him way too much. You should just let him. He would have like chilled with King's Landing, and it would have been funnier when it was Winterfell.
It's not Winterfell.
Well,
I mean, first they
it's
go to Torrent
Smoke
Square.
Haven.
Whatever.
Next
They're
chapter
going
they
to
go to
Winter.
Torrent. Next chapter they go to Torrent Square.
Theon decides to go to Winterfell.
Yeah. But next chapter they go to Torrance. Well, I don't even know if it's next chapter.
I
Next
mean,
chapter,
old
he meets
man
Asha.
literally wants to be like the JV Iron Man. He's like, oh, we'll just go to these little villages on the coast and take their shit and come home.
As far as show stuff goes, is Aaron even in the show? Like, is this guy? Aeron is, right?
Damphair is, yeah.
Damphair is, but Victarion isn't.
Victarion is not. Him and
Victarion
Euron are the
is
same person, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but Aeron has like very limited screen time.
Yeah, he's not.
he
like,
like blesses.
he does what he
Euron.
did in this chapter, basically.
Yeah. He does the baptism for Euron when he
Theon.
becomes king.
Yeah, I mean,
And Theon.
in the show, Theon goes right up with Asha
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
fingers her.
or Yara.
Yara, and he fingers her.
Yeah.
Asha in the books, Yara in the show.
And she's all into it.
In the books, that happens next Theon chapter. Next Theon chapter, he's back at Lordsport looking at the ship that he's just gotten made for himself called Seabitch. They name it Seabitch. And basically, Asha pretends to be the shipwright, the guy who makes ships. He pretends to be her wife. And Theon's like, oh, is she? But the way she talks to Theon makes Theon interested. And he's like, oh, you have to ride up with me. And he's like, yeah, but I'm a married woman, great with child. And he's like, yeah, it's okay, ride with me anyway, basically. And
Does he finger her?
He doesn't finger her. I think he grabs her.
Grabs her
boobs and
nipples?
He is it's very sexual the entire time. And he's like grabbing her boobs and shit. And then, yeah, like he gets to Balon. He goes back into Balon's room and then Asha walks in.
That's like another thing. Like, come on. Like, she's older than you, one. She can't look that different from like 13
She
to
was 13 to
23. Like,
I don't know, dude.
You're
I
gonna
wouldn't
have-
like,
years.
Would I notice my sister when she was 23? If
I mean, she's not 23 yet.
she's 13. She's 13
So-
right now. That's
so,
what I'm saying. If I saw a girl tomorrow, that was, I mean, again, if it was
Jenna-
like 10 years.
My sister is like spitting image, basically, like just older.
My sister is it. If I saw my
You don't
sister in
know.
10
Your
years,
sister's not 23 yet.
in a crowd of people, I feel like if I saw her,
She's
you're
not
right.
in a crowd of
You're right.
people.
You're right. She is. When Theon sees her, she is. She's like
Okay.
calling out to him and talking to him on purpose, but there's people around.
Whatever.
I don't know. I don't think it's too bad.
Like, to not even have a thought is pretty bad.
So again, I hate Theon. And one thing that happens two things happen that I hate. A, people hate on Theon way too much early on. I think right now he gets a really bad rap and he's a douchebag, but he gets a really shitty situation and most people don't like put themselves in his shoes and realize how bad he's actually getting it. But also, two, people are way too nice to Theon later on once he starts getting tortured. And they're like, but he didn't kill Bran and Rickon. Yeah, but he killed two fucking kids. Like, killing two kids is killing two kids. Whether it's Bran and Rickon or whether it's two farm boys.
No, he's
to
a
me,
bad
there's
person.
no difference at all. And everyone treats him like there's a huge difference. As soon as they find out it's not Bran and Rickon, like, no, he still killed two kids just so people wouldn't think that Bran and Rickon got away. That's almost worse than killing Bran and Rickon in my eyes. If you kill Bran and Rickon, you're doing it so you can take Winterfell. You kill these two kids just so you don't look bad.
He's definitely
that's
a
worse
shithead.
to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And people immediately forgive Theon later on. So I'm being nice to him now, but I'm gonna keep once he kills those
You're
two
saying
kids, I'm gonna
like
hold that against him. The
Theon?
rest of
They forgive
either
Show
both
Theon?
of them.
Yeah.
Both of them. People are like, "Oh, Rika's so good now. Rika's helping Stannis. He's helping Gene Poole. He killed two kids just so he didn't look
Yeah,
bad.
but does
and
everybody-
Ramsay had a big part of that. Ramsay was a huge influence, but that's still super fucked up. Just exactly like how people forgive Jaime and they completely forgot that he pushed a kid out of a fucking window.
Mhm.
Like, you got to remember both the good and the
Yeah,
bad.
I mean-
with
The
both
redemption
people.
arcs, dude. Look at fucking
Yeah.
the Gravedigger. The Gravedigger's becoming a better
Like, if
person.
you fucking kill two kids, like, you don't just fucking get tortured and then you're good guy now. Like, that's not how that works. You know what I mean? Like, you can earn forgiveness and I believe you can earn forgiveness and stuff like that. But you don't earn forgiveness by just being tortured and now you feel bad about it because you got hurt. You know what I mean? Like, that's like Theon's. I like Jaime's redemption arc better than Theon's.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
So the only other thing I really had besides you guys was one, he is really like sexist when he's on the boat, which I think maybe foreshadows him losing his wiener. And two, he vows that he'll never, like, when he's talking about something, he's like, when he's talking about when he first got to the Sea Guard and he gets on the boat and is going back to Pike, he's like, I'll never leave this, I'll never go far from the sea again.
He never gets back to the sea.
I'm sure there's a part, at least in the show, and I guarantee it's got to be in the books too. There's the part when he's in Winterfell when Asha does show up,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Thank God you're here." And she's like, "I'm not staying here. Like, this is suicide to stay here. You come with me." It's like, "We're not supposed." She tells him like, "We're not
We're
supposed to be
too far from the sea. Yeah.
and he like stays anyway.
Yeah.
I thought this was maybe like a foreshadowing, or maybe again not foreshadowing,
Yeah.
but like
I mean, it's a contradiction of what he's saying. What he's saying right now is a contradiction to what he says at Winterfell.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I don't have much. Again, I think there's not a bunch of spoiler stuff. We could go in
there's
deep
a lot
to a
of
few
Pike.
things.
A lot of
It's a
Pike
lot of
info.
Pike world building, stuff like that, history. But yeah,
Yeah. All right.
I got nothing else.
Sign off. Thanks for listening,
sounds
guys.
good,
Make sure
guys.
you like, share, comment, give us a review if you're on Apple Podcasts, and See you next week.
Yeah, man. We got none. We gave the shout out last time. We had no new Apple Podcast reviews. What the hell, guys?
What the
Come
heck,
on,
guys?
What's up? I see you
All right.
listening. I see the stats.
See you on Danny 1, everyone.
See you guys.
The night is dark and full of terrors.
Hi, guys.